Hold on, there we go.
issue.
We've got audio. We've got audio. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There we go. We got it sorted. We got it sorted.
All right. Yes, here we go. And yeah, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Another week. I'm wondering what is behind that surprise. I'm itching with excitement for the unveiling.
Are you itching with excitement, or does perhaps our mystery piece of meat, have they, and I see, I'm keeping it very, very generic here. Have they brought with them creepy crawlies and they've given you the scratchies?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yes, looks like we got audio. Everything's looking good now. So
we're good to go. We're live. We're live on the home of Freaky Friday, TFR Live, Scotty. Big shout out to the network. And of course, today we are simulcasting on YouTube. Why? Because we can, and it's Freaky Friday, and we ask you, can you get your woo ready for what's about to come? Scott, do you think people are ready? Have we prepared them? It's been like boot camp leading up to this moment, right?
I think they're ready. But there's always that certain percentage that just ain't ready. They're never ready. So, you know, it might blow a few people's minds. They might not be able to handle it, but hey, it's okay.
I've even had to crack open alcohol because it's so... I need to be able to handle this moment. But before we get there, before we unveil our prize turkey, and listen, I can guarantee you I could make this man look like a turkey. Let me go to Nacy, the man of many, many names. How you doing, brother?
Oh boy, oh girl, oh every other here on Mother Earth, my brothers and sisters, another week to be Freaky Friday, but may I confess or digress, my brother across the sea, who makes me so happy, if I may humbly say, happy birth recognition day to you. Happy birth recognition day to you. Happy birth recognition day, Kev Baker, my captain, my friend, my Homo sapien lover. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, Pearly. Thank you, Pearly.
Oh, no, now you've given her dopamine. Hey, talking of dopamine, Nacy, I was kind of miffed.
I'm excited.
You know, I'm not a big Facebook man. But one day of the year I do enjoy on Facebook is the overwhelming amounts of dopamine that come your way when it's your birthday. I logged in there today. And of course, I'm on my second go on there now. Not the original Kev Baker. I'm now Kev Dave Baker. Scott Lopez knows all about that. Me, him, and Popeye, we got taken out in the same day. But you know they had failed to inform the world about my birthday. And there was like no wishes there. Oh, I'm like, wow. This is the one day of the year when I can get like free dopamine without doing anything. So you know what I had to do, Scott? I had to put on a pity post. I had to like do it. I had to say, 45 lap around the... It was all about the dopamine, dude. It was great. It was like... I was like mainlining it, man. And then what happened an hour later? Facebook went and done it. Oh, it's Kevin's birthday today. Double dopamine. Oh, awesome. See? Yeah. Good, huh?
Yeah.
Birth recognition day.
Yeah.
Date to be.
Does Facebook not? Well, I guess it does. Does it not really tell people anymore? Whenever
it's meant to. It's meant to. And I was a bit pissed off. I hadn't told people. I thought, how are people meant to know that the man, the myth, the non-legend, that isn't and was Kevin Dave Baker? It's his birthday. But listen. I'm sure some of you might have guessed by now, looking at the chat room. But maybe some of you haven't. And it is my birthday today. So I called this full week Guilty Pleasure Week, right? And this dude is definitely one of those. He's back! One of the original cast of Freaky Friday. Look at him sitting there all innocent, like butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Joe Joseph.
Joe Joseph.
How you doing, man?
Well, happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us on this
Hey, no,
momentous day. Yes.
Of course, now it's time. It's time to start easing my way back into the fold again and just getting things going again. And we'll get things rolling. And it's good to be back.
Did you enjoy your brief hiatus? Well, in fact, it wasn't brief. It was quite prolonged.
No,
Was it high?
Did you
It
miss?
was absolutely wretched. I hated every second of it. And it was totally and completely not because I wanted to.
And if I may ask you, like, what have you made of the world going totally insane in the time since we last broadcast together? What's your thoughts on the insanity that is Idiocracy gone live? Where are we, dude?
You know what disappoints me more than anything? I'll be quite honest with you. What disappoints me more than anything is the fact that those out there that I spoke to for so long have drank the Kool-Aid, man. They're like, people buy into the echo chamber now more than anything that I have ever seen in my life. And I'm hoping that maybe, just maybe, I might be able to do a little something about it. But until then, it's Freaky Friday. And we don't talk stuff like that.
I mean, I've even got a crowd. Like they've gathered at the momentous return of the Joda. Scott Lopez, the man that you can Photoshop into anything is back, dude. Can you imagine how happy I am?
By the way, let's just ease your rudder on the Photoshop there, Chester. We got ease my way back into it a little bit before you drop the hammer on.
So next week we'll have him looking like something really cool, Scott, right?
No more.
But I've been thinking, the mere photoshopping. That's so what 10 years ago. That's. I think we're gonna have to step up our game and maybe get a little bit of deep fake action going on something.
Yeah, we could have him doing the MC Hammer can't touch this. Joe, the things we can do to you now, you're going to feel violated. Not that you didn't before.
I already do. What's the difference?
But listen, folks, we are now going to set sail for Speculation Island. That's right, Joe. Speculation Island is now a thing. It's not just a figment of my imagination. We go there on Freaky Friday. What else we get up to is before we commence anything, I head over to the chat room at tfrlive.com/chat, because that's the home of Freaky Friday, and there would be no Freaky Friday without the TFR website and without the TFR chat room. So while we're waiting for that to populate, it's dead quiet over there right now, but we've got nearly 100 people here on YouTube as well. Big shout out to all of you. Let me remind people that coming up after today's show, it doesn't stop here, because we hand over the chalice of woo. Yes, to our good friend, Brent Thomas. And him and Don Longbeard will take you careering through their paranormal portal. So with that said, we've got me and Sophia over in the chat room. Bam, big shout out to you. Thank you for your help this week. Much appreciated. All One, Gentle Wolverine, Paradoxical Anomaly, the Perverse Reverse Circus that is Rockin' Rio. Last but not least, Daryl Bowles. So with that said, Joe Joseph, I'm going to come to you first because it's been so long. Missed you, man. Missed you. Yellowstone, what's going on? Are we all dead? Is it the end of the world, Joe? Tell me. Is that it? Are we done? Is that why you're back? Is this a harbinger of an upcoming apocalypse?
So, before I left, we remember the things I used to say, a la don't trust what you hear, use your eyes and look what you see and believe what you see, right? So this is what I'm seeing right now. So Dutch Sense was on the other day, and Dutch Sense was bringing up this increased volcanic activity Not in Yellowstone, although we always have that rumbling in Yellowstone. And to me, quite frankly, Kev, I'll tell you what, I think Yellowstone is a bit of a, how should we say it? Kind of, we shouldn't direct our focus in Yellowstone, because that big kahuna, if that goes off, it's game over, big deal, right? But there's going to be some other things that happen prior to a Yellowstone or something like that we might want to pay attention to. So Dutch Sense has been focusing on the Pacific Southwest, where down in the Pacific Southwest, you have a bunch of, believe it or not, like steam volcanoes and geysers that are starting to pop up in the desert, and a lot of increased activity around some of the lesser known fault lines down there. And then you take a look at things like mass fish kills and die off of sea life, especially on the West Coast. I know everybody's like, Fukushima. Yeah, that could play part of the story. But remember, folks, with radiation, the solution to pollution is dilution.
Not the Wigner effect.
Except for Wigner. Wigner is exempt from the
Wiggy,
pollution.
wiggy.
So with that said, that's not to say that the sea lions that are all developing cancer and the melting sea cucumbers aren't a result of radiation. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is every planet in this solar system is heating up. Every planet is changing. The sun is changing its behavior. And as a result, our magnetic field is weakening, and it's allowing more neutrinos. It's allowing more cosmic rays to get in. It's heating up our oceans. It's evaporating our oceans. It's causing more rain. Ask the people in Germany and all the failed dikes and levees over in Belgium and up in the...
That's horrendous looking over there, man.
I can't freaking believe it, yet I can. It's one of those quantum things where I can believe it and I can't at the same time.
So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've spoken, right? And myself and Scott, we spoke about it last night, but we've been keeping a close eye on suspicious observers, and he talks about this cycle that the planet goes through: a 12,000 and a 6,000 year cycle, Joe. He also has been covering the speeding up of the rotation of the Earth. I've mentioned it twice this week already. His new video today is talking about another increase in the speed of the rotation that they're predicting for this year.
Right.
What's going on, dude? Because there's been a lot of stuff happening, Earth change-wise, in between us talking.
Randall Carlson has a great, I can't go back to him enough. That Randall Carlson guy, I must watch the Joe Rogan podcast of him and,
Graham Hancock.
Thank you. I was going to say Graham Cracker, but it's close. Same difference. Anyway, I watched them and I'm amazed, but I think the timeline's a little bit off. And there's a great documentary on YouTube right now that I would recommend everybody watch. And it's called Is Genesis History? And the reason why I say that is because we have to believe what our eyes are showing us and not what we're being told by asshats who say science is the be-all end-all of things, because we know that science and spirituality complement each other. They don't compete with one another, which is part of that divide and conquer. Anything that works, you have to understand that it seems like, and if there hasn't been a better example of that, look at the world around you today where everything is divide and conquer, where everybody buys into identity politics, or they tie their identity. It's almost like people have been conditioned to tie their identity to someone or something or some things. And it's really kind of sad, because when you do that, you lose all your objectivity. Now, I being a believer that the Bible and the extra biblical texts are true, that's all well and good, but it doesn't cloud my judgment as far as if I want to go down different roads of spirituality, different scientific theory. It doesn't matter because it doesn't cloud my judgment. But everybody's so quick to know what's best for everybody else. And everybody's so quick to say that this is wrong and that's right and everything else. Why can't we just be Joe and Kev and Scott and Kev and just get along with each other and talk about these things instead of tying our identities to it? Because as soon as you do that, as soon as you put a value on it that, let's just put it in perspective. I say that this pandemic kind of exasperated this whole problem because people were kept indoors, and it actually caused people to go kind of more online. And online's a great tool. Look, we're here tonight. We're all talking. We're getting together. It's great. Gosh, I can't tell you the thousands upon thousands of Teams meetings I've had to be in since I left radio and kind of gone into private sector work. It's unbelievable, but it's a tool. It's a tool. And the other thing is that there has to be balance in everybody's life and in society. And if you don't have that, you've got a measure of chaos. So you have to kind of balance it out. But the best way to keep your objectivity is to just be you and don't worry about being anybody else but you. And don't have to say, well, I'm a Trump supporter. Well, I'm a right winger. I'm a left winger. I'm rich. I'm poor. I'm black. I'm white. None of that matters. None of it matters. I'm just Joe. That's it. I'm not a Christian. I believe in Jesus, but guess what? Doesn't matter. Because that's just me. That's me personally. That's
because
my
the world's speeding up. There's volcanoes popping off.
Yes, but use your eyes. That's why I say watch that documentary is Genesis History, because what it shows, take spirituality, religion, dogma, take it all out of the equation. Strip it all out. Take what Kev's telling you right now, which is, let's just say, the Earth is speeding up, right? Earth is speeding up. Then watch this. Watch what happened, 5,000, 6,000 years ago. And then watch the examples they give you as far as how fast these catastrophic events actually happen, actually take place. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Is it Ken Klein that does the Genesis history thing, dude?
No, it's a guy by the name of Del Tackett.
Okay.
And he's a brilliant gentleman. And I hope to be able to get him on a podcast or a Freaky Friday here so that we can talk to him, because just an awesome thing. I see in the chat room, believes in Jesus but is not a Christian. Absolutely right. I couldn't be 100% more in agreement with that statement. I am not a Christian.
Same here. I'm the same as you. I don't come from the whole cookie cutter thing, Scotty Lopez.
I'm just Joe.
Yeah, and Jesus was a historical figure who lived, so yeah, you can believe that Jesus, was a dude who lived on this planet and did a lot of miraculous things and all of that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to adhere and declare yourself to be
allegedly.
Why? For what? All that does is go. It boxes you right in. Why?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
If I may, sorry, Scotty, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If I may add to what Joe has shared with us, from my perspective, and I'm not getting that triggered as Joe keeps telling us to look at things, but from my perspective, the minute you prescribe or proclaim a label, then you have to accept that someone other than yourself will have a different definition of that label. So you should be very careful to the label you prescribed, because me being 54 winters surviving, I was brought up on a different dictionary than of today. And there's these individuals that are wanting us to claim words that have been recreated, and that's okay, because you can be who you want to be. But I don't have to accept you for anything more than your existence of a living, breathing entity. However, if you tell me you want me to call you something, then I'm going to respect that minimally and say, I want to be called Squirrel Red Zipper.
I like that name for you.
So call me Squirrel Red Zipper, but I prefer Nasa.
I like that.
I like it as well.
That's a very nice name.
How did we get here from the world speeding up?
Because it's all relevant.
Because Joe hasn't been here for ages and he needs to purge it. Purge it, brother. Purge it.
Because look at the chaos, right? Out of chaos order. They know more than a shat. They know.
The powers that should not be.
They, yes. As the poetic they.
The cabal.
Oh, I like that. Yes, it's very nice. The evil sounding cabal. They know what the true situation truly is. They have the knowledge that was there pre-flood to now. They know what's going on.
Are they in control?
And so they feed you the global warming crap, right? They say it's carbon credits and everything else, you know? It's not. And that's the biggest thing that we just have to come to grips with. So what do? They get everybody so distracted on things like race, on things like economic status, class warfare, are you vaccine or anti, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Yes, that's I'm a rookie still. I had to get my rookie status back.
You'll be getting kicked off here soon, dude. I tell you, man.
But
no
you
soapboxes on a
what
Freaky
I'm saying,
Friday.
right? Anything that can be used to divide, they're going to do that.
Divide and conquer.
Because they don't want you to understand that there could be a cataclysmic event coming down the pipe. They don't want you to understand that, oh, you know, by the way, extinction level, whee!
Doom and gloom.
That's right. So they focus you on fighting amongst each other while they're trying to launch themselves to Mars or anywhere else they want to go to. Or what was it? What was that movie with Matt Damon and the space station?
Elysium.
Elysium, yes.
Great film. Great movie.
They're Elysium, you know? And that's exactly, that's what's going on. So the best way to isolate yourself or insulate yourself, Ken, from that is to take the labels away. You can still be anything you want. You can support the Bible, Jesus, anything you want, but you don't have to buy into the label, because with the label comes attack and everything else. You get rid of it. Doesn't change anything. Doesn't change who you are. Doesn't change what you believe in. Doesn't change your course of action from one day to the next. All I'm saying is you take out that bias. You take that bias out. You take that method of attack. Take it out. There's no need. I'm a Trump supporter. Who cares? You know? I don't care. I know you do. It's all good. Time.
We're almost on the break. Now, let me just check. I think we might be on the break. I think we might be just be going through the break. Let's just go through the break, because I didn't hear any music coming on. I assume we're still on. Over.
Break on through to the other side.
We're just going to break on through. We're going to keep on going. Now, Joe, to kind of bring you back, you can go back to where you were a moment ago, right? However, you had sent us a story here. You had sent us a story, and this is how we got kind of going here. In fact, we'll go to this. Well, there's no breaks. I have to remind myself now.
The hell with breaks.
The hell with breaks. We don't do breaks around here. Not when Joe's back. No, Joe, Yellowstone rattled by a swarm of more than 140 quakes in the past day.
I sent that simply because
Caldera.
You were just trying to keep me busy before the show, weren't you? That's all it was.
A little bit of that too. Let's
Well,
not
what
be,
about?
let's-
Did you see the new island that formed the other day? They had a mud volcano over near, I think it was Azerbaijan, Caspian Sea, and you had this massive explosion out the sea, and then a whole new mud volcano, new island, lands rising out the sea, boys, lands rising out the sea.
Island.
It could be the birth. Is that the birth of Speculation Island? Kev?
Could be. It could be.
The Speculation Island.
No,
And-
Speculation Island's always had palm trees.
Is that a leftover?
No,
Is that
it's a place in the heart.
Floods? Is that a leftover mud flood?
Oh, flooding
The mud flood. Oh boy. Have you looked into that,
Mud
Joe?
pies.
I've not looked into it. I keep on saying I'm going to.
I keep telling myself I'm going to look into it, and I never do. But I will tell you that the microscopic speck of information that I have gone through
It's
is quite
fascinating.
interesting. Yeah,
Yep.
it's fascinating. It's just I can tell it's going to be a deep dive, and I'm kind of
Because that
I wanna
gets you
be
into that whole
able
Tartaria and the buildings that look like
and
they're
I kinda wanna
machines.
I want to put the energy and focus into it, because if that's true, that would be probably one of the biggest historical
Well,
scrubs.
listen, right?
I think
Listen, here's where I've been kind of going recently. We're talking about a 12,000 and a 6,000 year cataclysmic cycle. It ties in with Randall Carlson. It ties in with the Younger Dryas and everything that Graham Hancock talks about. And if we go back 12,000 years, ballpark, we're around about the time that Göbekli Tepe was a banging, fully functioning temple complex. Whoever was there, and they decided to fill it in. So we can see that from there forward, you can go to the pyramids, bloody blah, Stonehenge, everything. That's one cycle. Now, we're talking about something called Tartaria here. This is one episode out of a cycle, as I put it. So you've got cycles, and then you've got cycles within cycles. And the Tartaria thing, the mud's flood, that's like an episode within one cycle. So we're looking at potentially one episode being, whoop, gone. That's only one episode in one cycle. Think of all the other cycles that go back 12,000 years. You think of
6,000.
Atlantis. Everyone knows about Atlantis. But when you start to extrapolate around millions of years and billions of years, do you know how many potentially advanced civilizations we might have lost that we've never even had an idea about? They don't have a name. They don't have anything. No point of reference. Just a layer of sediment somewhere. And I think we've done this before many times, you know?
Yeah, we have no clue. We have no clue how many times we've actually went through these resets.
Yep. That's the short, intelligent way of saying what I was trying to get out there.
But the challenge that we find ourselves in is back to Joe talking about divide, where we get hung up on a number. Because if you look at the whole microcosm, macrocosm, and scientific deduction, where you create a theory, you check the data, if the data supports it, if the data doesn't, it is what it is. But the cycle is relevant, whether that cycle be a second, a minute, an hour, a day, 12,000 years, a million years, the cycle happens. And at any moment, there can be an anomaly to that cycle. So if they, or the powers that should not be, can condition us to look at all of these different cycles and argue about the cycle and not accept the cycle, that it could happen. And if we can realize that life can be snuffed out in a moment, whether it be in the microcosm and your energy stops, or on the macrocosm where your city gets hit by an asteroid or an earthquake or a fire or something. You know, if we could acknowledge that life is precious, then bing, bang, boom, you know, no more doom and gloom, because we've all raised to a higher consciousness. PPP. Sorry, there was my little rant.
Well, Scotty Lopez is chomping at the bit.
Sorry, Scotty.
Well, it was making me think about what we were talking about yesterday, Kev, when I was bringing up the whole Kali Yuga stuff, right? Because, we went through those bullet points, and it's like, you can pretty much put a check mark next to every single one of those bullet points, right? And, I think we'll have to do a deep dive into that more, and look more into all of that stuff and these yuga cycles, and see what correlates with a lot of these catastrophic events that have occurred. Joe brought up Randall Carlson, and I think it was me that actually turned Joe onto Randall Carlson. I was like, hey, you need to go check out that.
It was, dude.
Yeah. Because he's
the biggest thing with him, Scotty, and I went ape shit on that, and kind of went and did some deep research into that myself. And the only thing that I can come up with is that, damn, that's pretty, first of all, it's pretty hard evidence that what we saw or what we see in history is very fast, very dramatic changes to the environment. And when I say fast and dramatic, I'm not talking about 1 degree Celsius over 100 years. I'm talking about like 15 degrees Celsius in 3 years, and then back down in the opposite direction, and then back up. Just very chaotic, very crazy. And it is just absolutely unfathomable to me that there isn't more consensus in the scientific community about this, knowing what we're truly looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever looked into the Kali Yuga stuff, Joe? In Hinduism or anything like that?
Quite scary, dude.
I will tell you. I guess I kind of have, though. Yes, we have. It was a while ago.
It was pre-2012, but last night Scott went through, there's almost a list of things. People will all want to argue with each other. People will become self-absorbed. People will lose their minds. Dude, it was like, if you close your eyes and listen to it, it's a checklist of where we are right now. Totally.
And imagine what it's like, right? Each reincarnation of humanity. It's really, truly based on, what the dynamics of the Earth are at that time, atmospheric pressure, oxygen content.
Do you think, Joe, that affects electromagnetically, right? Do you think if one of these prior cycles, episodes were in the cycle, the electromagnetic field's different? And I've put forward the idea, the notion, you can disagree, all good, dude, it's what we do here. But maybe we had even more senses, more computing power. Our brains were wired differently, and that could give rise to the mysterious explosions of technology and things. It talks about people living hundreds of years, so things were different.
The Bible and the extra biblical text out there speak of it big time, right? And the fact that Adam wasn't, before the fall, he wasn't a human being like we were. He was different, he had different capabilities. And then after the fall, they still lived to be 1,000 years old because the atmospherics of the planet, the pressure was different. Heck, like I've said a million times, prior to the 19th century, dinosaurs were called dragon, and they were called dragon for millennia. And the fact that reptiles never stop growing from the time they're born to the time they die make perfect sense. If things are living for 1,000+ years and they never stop growing, well, how the hell big do you think they're going to get? Of course they're going to get big. And of course you're going to have kinds of reptiles that are going to pass away and become extinct. This is what happens. But really, it all boils down to this. We know very little about that prior to. Maybe somebody does. I don't know. But there is evidence, really solid evidence, that point to very dramatic, very fast, catastrophic change. And when I say that, I mean not millions of years, not thousands of years. I'm talking within a year to maybe even months, maybe even days. Not what we're being sold. And that's the biggest thing to understand, that change can come very rapidly and can be very catastrophic in nature. That's really what science shows us.
And I think a really good example of that is when Randall Carlson had always proposed the idea that there was a meteor impact that had taken place, around the time of the Ice Age, right? Which caused a dramatic change, and accelerated the melting of the ice caps, right? And it turned out his idea on that was pretty much validated when they found that there was a crater in Greenland that dated back to that exact time. And so, he was validated. And of course, a meteor impact is going to create a very dramatic, rapid change. Like you said, Joe, it wasn't something that spanned over hundreds of thousands or a million years. We're talking about something that radically changed the planet within days, and months,
Right.
So,
and Scotty, we can debate all day about the method of change. Who gives a crap how it did? The fact is,
exactly.
Plasma
Yep.
exchanges, dude.
Well,
listen, guys. Listen. This is like we're reaching peak Freaky Friday here. Okay, this is like immense. Joe Joseph has laid down the hammer here. I need to take a breath. I really do. But listen, no, I'm just kind of building up. I've got a clip here that I played recently over on the Kev Baker show, but I think it really kind of adds to what we're talking about here. And it's a clip of suspicious observers, Ben Davidson, speaking to Randall Carlson. So we're talking about the catastrophe cycle here, ladies and gents. Let's take a little listen to this.
Hello, Ben Davidson.
Hello, Ben. This is Randall Carlson.
It would appear to many observers that you have become interested in something we are all interested in.
It's just become one of those things where you know that it's there, you know that it's important, and finally you go, okay, I've got to look into this. I learned about the Carrington event, and I learned about solar flares and coronal mass ejections and all of this, and I'm realizing, well, if we're going to really try to truly understand global change, we have to be looking at all of the factors. And my gosh, what could be a more important factor than the sun? One of the things that I guess I kind of stumbled on, and you know that I'm quite fascinated with comets and the role of comets. And at some point, I guess a couple, maybe 3-4 years ago, as I began to look into a lot of the satellite surveys of our near-Earth cosmic neighborhood, this is when I really kind of came to the realization that there were the Kreutz category of comets, which are the sun grazers, and how many of them there are, and that they may be related to responses in the solar magnetic field as they accelerate into the sun at the end of their lifetime. And I had no idea how many of them there were. There's hundreds of them now have been documented.
The observers have found themselves similarly stumbling into Randall Carlson territory here. A number of the studies which, I briefly mentioned to you on the phone, the one about how they redated the Tibetan ice caps using krypton isotopes, and all of a sudden what was thought to be more than 500,000 years old is potentially from the Younger Dryas, or how potentially during the Younger Dryas, the Fennoscandian ice sheet in Norway and nearby regions didn't have ice. There's so many questions that we've been running up because we are the journal hawks that we are, and there's just so much that we're very happy that you're going to be more involved online, and that you might even be able to help us out with a lot of these questions that really don't do more for us but tell us that, hey, wait a minute, this is showing that the story's got holes in it, and it seems to point in the direction of the kind of stories that we tell on our channel and that you tell of the past as well. Specifically, this story of how rapidly the Ice Age comes on because we have to have heat to get all the water into the atmosphere, but then we have to have cold to freeze it. And as you said the last time we talked, they used to be able to say it took 100,000 years, and that's just not going to work anymore.
Right, yeah. With all the various dating technologies, everything is turning out to be a lot quicker. Yeah, because for example, I mean, there's a whole body of evidence suggesting that most of northern North America was forested and non-glaciated between roughly 30 and 50,000 years ago. And I say that's roughly. But, looking at the stratigraphic evidence, there is pollen and seeds and evidence of pretty much boreal forests growing in a lot of places where, let's say, between 20 and 25,000 years ago, there might have been 1,000 or thousands of feet of ice.
Now, listen, I'm not going to play all of that. I'm going to drop the link over in TFR chat room and over on YouTube. But I'll urge you to check that out. The reason I wanted to play that is we were talking about the two of them, basically. But the quickness of how things can change, guys. And when you're talking about suspicious observers, and don't want to put words into Carlson's mouth, but we're talking about an electric universe model. And I think this is something where I know Joe's nodding away there. Scotty, I know you, Nacy as well. Again, this is a paradigm shifter, really, from what we've been told about space. There's a whole lot more going on here, guys, than most people are privy to. But it's all there if people want to find it,
Yeah, and I also find it interesting that Carlson was mentioning comets and whatnot. And what do we have going on right now, Kev? This
we have
this
the
giant
largest comet. Yeah, well, it's like it's a comet or it's a planetoid. It's going to take 10 years. Yeah, it's going to take 10 years to come in. It's the biggest thing they've ever seen. And that's why I brought that story up when he was talking about comets.
Yeah, that's it. Wait, that cigar-shaped thing. It's coming back. Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not a Muamua. It's not a Muamua. This is a different one.
Sorry.
This takes 600,000 years to do an orbit. Me and Scott were talking before about how
give or take, right?
It's even hard to imagine how something that far out from the sun can still be affected by its gravitational pull. But it is, okay? But we're living in these times. I think that's the important thing that we would all agree on here. Nacy, Scotty, Joe, we are in these times, right? Where changes can happen, but it's not something that happens like gradually over millennia. These are things that happen quickly. We see the sun yesterday, guys. Ben Davidson was on about this. We dodged a bullet because we had a flare coming off the back of the sun that would have been beyond a Carrington event. And with our current levels of technology, that would have been a real game changer. Like back to
Are you speculating that if that hit us, we would have been
thrown back to a time before electronics? But listen, the thing is, right?
Oh, hey,
Ben Davidson.
Hold on one second. Now, what you're saying is, with my generator, I cannot have power. Look at, man, when the thunderstorm comes and a tree falls on my house, you know what? It don't matter because I got power. I just pull
not this bad boy it is. Listen, don't listen to me, okay? And I can't take any more of that accent. It's terrible. It's cringe. Here we go. Look, listen to this. Now, if I fast forward it to where we need to be, here we go.
2 hours as it turns into face Earth. But let's go back and watch 3 days on Soho. We'll first see that far side blast we've previously reported. It was wide and pretty solid density, would have produced a geomagnetic storm if it hit Earth, but that may be about it. Technological impact may have been virtually nothing. But that's not what we can say for the eruption that occurred yesterday. That appears to be just shy of kill shot level CME production.
Kill shot level.
Man, did you see that though?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a flare like that, Kev.
Yeah.
And I can't say.
Well, the thing is, though, Joe, that Ben's been predicting this solar cycle. He thinks we'll be lucky.
He thinks that this is going to be like the humdinger where it kind of just goes.
Well, you
wild.
were talking about planets earlier on, like in our solar system that are changing. But what Ben's been doing is he's been looking at our local stars, Betelgeuse, all the ones that are in between us and the galactic center. Because he talks about the galactic wave. And I remember before 2012.
That is, Kev, that is so crucial.
Well, here you go. What do you make of this? And I'll pass it to you. You've got, let's just for argument's sake, we've got Betelgeuse. Recently, there was a lot of people talking about how it was acting weird. What Ben Davidson tracks is the fact that the local stars to us have all reacted to something, and they've given off like brief nova events. They've cast off their shell. And it's coming our way. And if our sun casts off its shell, that'll give rise to the sort of things that we look at with the alien sky and the electric universe.
Right,
exactly. So the stars local to us in the right time, in the right order, have reacted. That means there's a wave coming our way. We've got the Earth speeding up more than it has done in any other year. We've got the polar magnetic north and south wandering faster than they have at any other time. All the warning signs are there that this wave is coming our way. Now, the Mayans always talked about the change of an age. We were the dafties that tried to put a number on it. But one of the things I can never forget about that time, listening to Coast to Coast, listening to you and John King, listening to Popeye, listening to Chris and Cherie Geo, Everard, Marshall Masters, everyone, was there was always talk about the galactic center, like the equator, and how we were crossing from one bit into the other. And when we crossed that equator line, there would be like a chance of energy coming our way. Well, that's what Suspicious Observer is talking about. That's the 12,000 and 6,000 year harmonic we're talking about.
Anybody out there that knows electronics, right? You understand what an oscilloscope is. An oscilloscope measures, your waveform, right? The way we travel on the galactic plane looks very much like a sine wave. And if you're not familiar with a sine wave, it basically is, like
snake.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a waveform of, give or take 5,500 to 6,000 years to make a half cycle.
Did you say 6,000 years?
Yeah, it's about 6,000
So wait a minute. That ties in with the 12,000 year cycle and the 6,000 year harmonic. Just saying.
Give or take 1,000.
Yeah, just saying.
Give or take, because, again, I wasn't there at the beginning, but I have some pretty good evidence from...
You were there, Joe.
Yeah, I was. I guess I was. But at the same time, if you look at everything in its totality, across all cultures, across all beliefs, it all meshes. It absolutely all meshes.
Rhonda Brown donated $15 through Super Chat. Happy birthday, Kev. Warrior mode always.
Oh,
Happy
thank you.
Birth Recognition Day.
Thank you so very, very much. In fact, you know what?
And by the way, Rhonda Brown, thank you very much. And yes.
Yeah, I'm going to play it again. I'm glad
you like my girlish figure.
Here we go.
Now that I've lost about 30 pounds.
You have lost weight. You have lost weight, but you're still Joe. Here we go. One more time.
Rhonda Brown donated $15 through Super Chat. Happy birthday, Kev.
Thank
Warrior
you.
mode always.
Warrior mode always. Faith, strength, courage. Yes, indeed. Joe, sorry to interrupt you, dude. Sine waves crossing the galactic plane. I think we're there.
So think about that. So every 6,000 years, right, is a half cycle.
Yep.
Every 12,000 years is a full cycle. But each half cycle is an age. According to, whether you're in the age of Aquarius, you're in the age of Pisces or whatever.
And that ties in with Scotty's yugas and zodiac and things like that.
Absolutely. And also,
when the moon will reach the seventh.
Yeah, well, my background music, my theme music's going on in the background. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Did you know that actually happened?
What's that?
In that song, Aquarius, at the beginning when it talks about when the moon is in the 7th hour.
Yeah.
That actually was a physical occurrence that happened, I believe, 8 years ago.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Interesting. Sorry. Little tidbit there.
Yeah, thank you.
Oscilloscopes.
Yeah, brought to you by Naysay and the number 8. Yes, very good. So, so as we transit, right, each year, and I'm talking about the year that we're used to, the Gregorian calendar, whatever, as we transit, we have the zodiac, like Scott says. We're all born under certain signs. And those signs are pretty important. I'm going to tell you, Kev. When people are born under certain signs,
The crab. I am a sexually transmitted disease.
it brings about
69.
characteristics. Because there's a cosmic download that happens there, bro. I'm telling you, it's like when you're born at a certain time, you get a certain operating system.
But Joe, it's not as simple as the 12 signs because
13.
Well,
no,
13. But listen, no,
hang
on, guys. Come on, we're all over each other. Let's calm it.
Sorry.
Like you've got.
I'm fucking.
Well, listen, whatever, right? It's not just the zodiac sign. It's where the moon is. It's where the planets are. And that dictates your download because it's not just as easy as, well, there's 12 personality types on the planet or 13. These planets are very, very instrumental in that specific download you mentioned, right? And that's why we're all individually unique because nobody's two planetary systems and zodiacs all line up.
Yeah, the lineups, right, Kev?
Yeah.
Right, Kev? The lineups are kind of all unique. Let's
You're
be
talking about
honest.
cycles within cycles. You know what I mean?
Cycles.
It's just endless. Endless. It's unbelievable. And I got to tell you, I am absolutely sold on the concept that we are very intimately tied in to everything. And I know it sounds kind of vague in a way, but it's not. Everything affects us, even down to where Beetlejuice's position is in space. You know what I mean? It is that. That's awesome. It's that unique and complicated and beautiful, and at the same time chaotic and destructive. And it's something that we have to come to grips with, that there is a beginning and an end, that there is justice and injustice, but it's all cyclical. It's all cycles within cycles, just all overlapping each other. It's an unbelievable thing when you look at it. You kind of step back and see it for what it really is. And so many people don't do that, which is bad. It's bad. Instead, they get clouded with, well, that came from the Bible, so that can't be true. Well, that came from the Quran, so that can't be true. Well, the I Ching said this, so that can't be true. No, it's all, this is all great data that we should be, and look at it like that. If you have an issue with the idea of religion, dogma, whatever you want to call it, spirituality, I don't care what you call it. then just look at it as straight up data. That's all it is.
No, you're
Or
right.
as Johnny Five said it, input.
No, you're
If
you're
you
right.
have
dude,
an
you're right.
issue,
Now,
if you have an issue where
you're freaking people out with your whispering in the chat room. I must admit, there's people getting freaked out by you whispering. They're thinking it's a ghost in the machine. But I've got a story for you to tackle here, Nacy. Look, moons wobble. The moons wobble. Now, this is something that Nacy has been speaking about for years now. Something wrong with the moon to bring a surge of severe flooding in the 2030s. And that's NASA warning this. Now, this is where we get into it. It says lunar cycles will cause an increase in floods across US coastal cities in the next decade. A moon wobble will contribute to an increase in floods. The moon's orbit, Nacy, here we go, right? Which affects the Earth's tides as a natural wobble every 18.6 years that causes extremely high and low tides. Now, let me stop there.
the joy is coming.
We're talking the moon. We're talking the cycles of the psychos, as you put it. But were you aware of this 18.6 year cycle, Nacy?
I cannot confirm or deny that. I may or may not be aware of that, but I'm always fearful of bringing it forward because you know me going under the moon.
Well, what do you make of this now? They're talking about it in the mainstream.
I'm feeling vindicated.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point, isn't it?
I've been squawking about this for 20 years.
Is that really just 20 years?
Yes,
That's just over one cycle, Nacy.
Yeah.
There you go. I can understand that now.
Yeah.
I understand the gravity. No, the magnitude, Nacy, of that. Truly.
Well, the ceremonies and the rituals that I do as a Paleo American, where we take account of the moon and the sunrise and the sunset, and we pay attention to it. And so I pay attention to it so I know when to do rituals or ceremonies. And I've noticed the changes occurring with the moon cycle on many perspectives. And as I dig deeper into the causation or the possible causation of it, you start getting validated with just recognizing the data. But there it goes, bam. The problem or the challenge that I have with it is the data is there for anybody to find, but we're getting so bombarded with all of this outside stimuli that we don't pay attention. We get caught up into that little mobile device. Thank you so much for being here. Love you all. Please like, share, and subscribe. But once we get distracted, we're distracted. Nothing will mess up a cycle like adding another cycle. And if we don't wake up, if we don't become I woke up in love this morning.
Well, hey, bro, let me tell you this. This is what's interesting, and I'm going to throw this out there. What's interesting is how the government went in, especially to, let's just talk about the United States, right? To the Native American community. And they institutionalized, and they went and they ripped their culture away from them to take this knowledge away. Yeah. This sacred knowledge, this special knowledge, this very important knowledge, they took it away. Why? Because they had to take it away. Because this was another avenue of, people getting to know and be intimate with their surroundings, with their environment, with nature, with the universe.
Speculation woo, Captain?
Yes. Yes, number one. Yes.
So if the powers that should not be, and you always get
very hot.
If you always bring up the banking system as it was created to gain more power and more control. So if the powers that should not be were privy to this knowledge about the cycles occurring, then you would think, just like in the microcosm, you would want an escape plan in the event that something happened. If your house is going to burn down, you want a way to get out of your house. So what ways can you do? Alternative 3, you could dig deep and create a base and say, hey, maybe this will keep me safe. Or you can build Elysium and say this might keep you safe. Or you
I like
could.
that. Does it have the machine? Does it have the machine that heals you and everything?
Yeah, or you could go to Moonbase Alpha, 1999.
Listen, we call that Sitchin's Kitchen around here.
Sitchin's Kitchen, yes,
Scotty
sir.
Scotty Lopez is on the mic. Scotty, it's all you, sir.
Well, you know, you bring up this article about this moon wobble, right, and how it could play a role in some, Earth change activities here coming up within the next, decade or so, and it makes me think. I mean, could this possibly be one of the reasons why the Earth's rotation is starting to speed up? Because we know that the moon pretty much plays a central role in the stabilization of the Earth's rotational axis, right? If we didn't have a moon, the
only thing I would say to counter that is that you would expect to see that every 18 years, then, wouldn't you? If that's the lunar cycle.
Maybe you would see a pattern of,
and from what Ben Davidson says, this is anomalous to the point of being terrifying. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. I went full black pill. I'm joking.
I just threw that question out there because I still honestly believe that this speed up in the Earth's rotation has something to do with the weakening of the magnetic field, right? And this, wandering of the poles that's taking place right now. ZX in the chat also brought up a very interesting point. You talks about, the Earth is a dynamo basically, and if you feed energy into a dynamo, it's gonna speed up, right? And so with the weakening of the magnetic field and more cosmic particles and radiation from the sun bombarding the planet and being drawn into the Earth's core or whatever, we actually might be seeing this excitement basically
some
of the
more woo.
Well, on you go, and then what we'll do after that is I'll play the next part of Ben Davidson's update that talks about the speed up of the Earth, because it gets into even more nacy. Over to you.
Okay, so if you think of two movies, Star Wars, and if you think of the movie Jodie Foster's Contact, the machine.
Brilliant movie, dude. Brilliant movie.
Yes. Okay, remember the machine. So if you remember the machine and how it worked with the rings within rings, the cycles within cycles, that is a metaphor of the Earth. The metaphor of when they dropped her from the top to the center, to the core, to the opening up of the quantification of magnetism was the occurrence. So if you think of the Death Star and you think of the Earth and you think of its electromagnetic flux of those cycles within cycles, the wheels within wheels, as they're pivoting and turning, and as the sun and the Earth rotate in that incredible dance, if and when the poles or the shaft, when you shoot as a Jedi, you shoot down the shaft of the pole that will hit the core of the Earth. If and when that happens and the sun and the moon come into alignment where the Earth's magnetic pole faces the sun, and if the sun, Luke Skywalker, what walks across the sky, Horus and his 12 steps, when Luke Skywalker shoots the right pulsar and it hits that hole and it goes down to the core and ignites what? Kaboom, kabam. Thank you, ma'am.
Indeed. So let's listen to this next bit before we all start chipping in even more woo.
MS Space Cake donated £2 through Super Chat.
I like
Here's half a pint for the hair of the dog.
I like
Smirking face.
I like it. The smirking face absolutely completes that. Here we go. Now, this is going to get into more of the glitching. It's also going to talk about the galactic field, okay? So, Joe Joseph is stuffing his face right now. We're going to get an update on Ange as well.
I am, baby.
A lot of people in the chat room are asking after Ange, so we have to have an Ange update. But let's listen to the remainder of this update, because I think it fits in with everything the guys are talking about here.
We can't see the flare class because it was on the far side, but that is major, heavy density. Electrical issues, possibly up to major grid level, may have been expected if that ultra-dense corrugation was aimed at Earth. Lucky us. Let's head out to space next, where not stars, not galaxies, but galaxy clusters collide. The wavelength views offered by Chandra really help visualize just how unfit human eyes are to view the heavens in their true form. Optical to red radio to blue X-ray and a composite. Their model actually works fairly well to produce the sight we see in space, and plasma cosmology folks at this channel will be happy to know it's mostly an interaction of their plasma halos in the X-ray realm. Radio still dominated by the jet features, as expected. A quick nod up next to the scalability from space weather forcing by the interplanetary magnetic field to the galactic current sheet solar forcing.
Right, that galactic current sheet. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about this galactic equator.
That's right.
Yeah, the particles
and
that could
that's
be.
exactly what that is, because the force of it actually gets so much, Kev, that it stretches itself to almost a ribbon.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
How many times do we talk about that? Even when it comes to dimensions and different, like pages in a book. It's layers. It's unbelievable.
Well, you actually see that in the visuals that this channel put on. We'll see it on YouTube, but for people out there, just again, think of Joe's sine wave. Think of a sheet of paper with waves all the way through it. That's what's bombarding the planet from the center of the galaxy. Here we go.
Field-aligned currents, heavily dependent on the BY component, the magnetic angle of the solar wind, which changes as Earth swims through the current sheet of solar wind plasma. And of course, we have to use our imagination when we scale that up to the sun and the galaxy. Last but not least, let's run this down yet again. We have seen the Earth's rotation glitches going bananas. We've been covering the glitch that has set a new forecasted fastest day of the year, but it keeps getting pushed back and to a faster speed than before. Yet again, we are 1 day later, and now over 3 milliseconds fast forecasted for that day. Folks, yes, the day is never exactly 24 hours, and yes, it goes up and down, and that's expected. But 2020, we broke the record for fastest rotation day ever recorded 28 times. 28 times in 1 year, and we're obviously going much faster again this year. No, folks, you won't be feeling milliseconds of rotation change, but the mantle will, the asthenosphere will, and the low-velocity zone locking the crust on top of it will. Faster spin means more energy in from Earth's weakening magnetic field. 2020 was the fastest year ever, and this year we're speeding up even more.
So Scott Lopez, that kind of concurs, agrees totally with what you're talking about. And like I say, this is anomalous. This isn't an 18-year moon cycle. This is something that they're changing every day. It's getting quicker. Yesterday we talked about 2.53 milliseconds. Now we're up to 3.23.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
It was just like I was saying, I think this has something to do with the weakening of the magnetic field and more energy that is being fed into the core of the planet, and it's accelerating. It's causing this this acceleration in the Earth's rotation, and like Ben Davidson said right there, right? We might not be able to perceive this speed up.
Well, Scott, I'll explain it this way, right? I mean, we don't, when you stand out the back, you don't perceive that the planet is traveling through space at an absolutely ginormous rate. So we're not going to be able to.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Well, to that end, you might pick it up, right? But I'm not going to be able to say, Oh, Anne, look. Stand out the back with me. It feels quicker today. It's not,
My
doesn't
arse,
work like
you
that.
totally
Do you know what I mean?
that. Don't lie.
Only when I've smoked the good stuff, Joe. Only.
Okay, well, see, now okay.
I'm going to go to the toilet anyway. I'll leave it with you guys.
But with the acceleration of the rotation, right? That's
Wow,
obviously
that was pretty intense what you just said. Yeah.
the
But make sure next time you say that you have your Sherlock Holmes pipe out with blowing bubbles. Yes, the acceleration of rotation. Yes, that sounded.
acceleration of the rotation. Yeah.
The exponential acceleration of the rotation with the vibration.
Very nice.
Of
Very
the
nice
cycle.
addition to that. Yes.
Hey, look, this sounds like the beginning of a really, really good rap song,
Oh, hells yeah, baby.
Yeah. But no, I mean, as this, this continues to accelerate, that's going to tie into all of these earthquakes and volcanoes going off, right? Because, we're talking about the plates of the planet. They're floating on magma, right? And magma. Yep, magma. And
Spinning plate tectonics.
If the rotation of the core speeds up, it's not going. It's the surface of the planet is not going to immediately react to that. It's
that you just nailed it, dude. If there's anything that says it best, that was it. It's you are basically talking about a shell floating on fluid, basically, right?
Yes. Yeah. Floating on a viscous fluid.
Right. So when you have that change in acceleration, you're going to have that acceleration happen, and then you're going to have a lag.
Yeah, there's going to be a delay, before everything else starts to catch up with it.
That's right. And just think about that. Think about how cataclysmic that is in the grand scheme of things. I think there was, look at 2012, the movie, which was based on the Hollywood version of the Mayan calendar, but still you get kind of a good idea. Or even, what was it? The one with Danny Glover as the president. Dadgummit. I think it was like a
Core.
Core. Yes, thank you so much, man. Core.
Deep impact.
Yeah, that deep impact core, whatever the hell you want to call it, but same difference. And really, 1,000-foot tidal waves, all off of things that we as humans living our day-to-day lives couldn't even begin to perceive. We just don't. Our local surroundings are unaffected by that, but look at all these things are going on.
It's the end of the world as we know it, but I feel fine. But then you open up your front door and you hear chirp, 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 chirp. You pay attention to the exponential causation of this. I love that to you, Scotty.
Yeah. And look, if we're talking about a possible magnetic pole flip as well, right? We've never been alive to even document that. At least there's no record.
No, but there's evidence of it.
Yes, there's evidence of it. But what I'm saying is that it's completely new territory for humans.
But if we look at the metaphor in the Bible of, sorry, Scotty.
Well, I was just going to say, that we don't actually know what happens when there's a magnetic pole flip, right? And Joe brings, and we were just talking about, look, man, the continents, the surface of the planet is literally just a shell that's floating on liquid. Yeah. And if you have this magnetic pole flip, does that flip the shell? Does the shell go along with it? And that's when we start kind of talking about things like Atlantis and, was Antarctica originally located in a more temperate zone? And then we have a pole flip and maybe it shifted Antarctica from a temperate zone down to the South Pole. We're talking, I'm just throwing stuff out there. Yeah.
Could we agree Could we agree that the powers that should not be have sat down and calculated every different scenario of an extinction event?
No, because no man knows. Because no man knows. They can sit and they can work out anything they want, but no man knows.
Amen. But they,
But if there's evidence,
yeah, but that doesn't matter because that evidence is of events in the past, which you could use to predict the future. Don't get me wrong, but it's the height of human arrogance to say that we can tell with.
We give these powers that should not be a lot more credit than I think they're due.
I do. Yeah, we do. We
Yep.
do give them much credit. Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, Kev, you have that trailer of Genesis history. I think it's relevant to the point that both Kev and Scotty were making.
Post it again
earlier.
to me, dude, will you? Oh, I've got it. I've got it.
Yeah, and the
If we
reason
look
why
at
I say that is because things do really happen in an instant, in the blink of an eye. And I think it's relevant where Revelation says, that, Jesus comes as a thief in the night. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you can't have a good idea or even know around the time frame when he's coming back. That's not what that's saying. What he's saying is be ready. And there's things to be ready. And there are signs that we can use both in the heavens and here to determine when these events are and what they are. So, it's important to understand and know these events. That's all I'm saying. And this is a great trailer. This in Genesis history is a great, first of all, a great documentary, whether you're a Christian or not, or a Bible believer or not, or a Muslim or not. It doesn't matter who you are. Look at it for the data and just follow the truth where the truth takes you. That's all you got to do.
Right. Before I play it, Nacy, quickly jump in because I know you had something to add to that.
well, I was just talking about the metaphor in the Bible of Revelations about the occurrence in a cataclysmic event. They're there, and they're there throughout historical accuracies of different scriptures or writings by my ancestors, the Mayans, the Greeks, the Buddhists, all the basics of all the religions. Because if we're going to even bring up the fact of Christianity came from the religion that Abraham practiced.
That's right.
And that's the beginning of all the different religions. So whether or not the book is 2,000 years old or the cuneiform is 6,000 years old or even older, I can guarantee you that the powers should not be have collected that data and put it into their think tanks to make a theory or a guess of what is going to happen, and they're going to try to prepare for it. Just like we get insurance. We buy insurance because we think something's going to happen.
There was and to his point, back in the 1960s, and I'm sure many of the people watching and listening out there have heard this before, but there is that declassified account of, Adam and Eve from the CIA, that guy that used remote viewing to see the events that happened prior to and what's going to happen in the future. So they go out of their way to try and figure out and take their best shot, their best guess, their best prediction as to what there's that map.
Yeah, the famous map where the continental US is kind of split down the middle. Map. Yeah.
And interestingly enough, that was in the 70s. That was briefed to the Joint Chiefs of Staff as being a true threat to the United States. Yeah.
I love a Joint Chief.
I know you do.
I think they were smoking the joint.
Not that kind of chief.
Well, listen, let's watch this trailer. Let's take a listen to this.
There are many questions about the history of the Earth. What major events might have occurred to shape it? Was there a global flood? A Big Bang? How did the Earth become filled with so many amazing and diverse creatures? I'm Del Tackett, the creator of the Truth Project, and I've spent a year asking a wide variety of scientists to help me better understand the world we see around us.
Well, it was a story that we all learned in grammar school. Colorado River, over tens of millions of years, cut the Grand Canyon. Most geologists have jettisoned that idea. You can't imagine a canyon enduring that long with erosion. Time is not a magic wand that solves all the geologic problems of the world.
The past is the key to the present. You want to understand why the way the world is today, you've got to understand what happened in the past.
Oh, absolutely.
You take the present processes and extend it into the past, not unreasonable. But there's evidence in the rocks themselves that you can't do that.
If the fossils of dinosaurs have been dated incorrectly, then it's very likely the fossils of any organism have been dated incorrectly, and therefore then the geologic ages themselves are incorrect.
I believe in change over time, but I'm not an evolutionist. The shark has the ability to change, to adapt, to respond dynamically to the environment. But
is it, Joe? Is it?
And it most certainly is, buddy. Ain't no doubt about it. And, you know, funny enough, I went into that documentary actually saying to myself, oh man, is this just going to be another one of those documentaries? They hook you in the first 5 minutes. And it's Dunsky. And their initial example is Mount St. Helens. And it's a very powerful example because a lot of people, especially those that are on the internet today, don't even remember the last time that Mount St. Helens truly was disastrous and erupted, and it was horrific. It changed. I was in kindergarten when that happened. And I remember getting ready for school and it being on the black and white TV on our counter in the kitchen and that thing going off. It changed the landscape, and some of the features there, if you didn't know it, if you had no concept of Mount St. Helens and you just walked there and you listened to the way that that evolution theory describes things and the millions and billions of years, he would say that these canyons,
features,
things, all these features developed with erosion over millions of years and da-da-da-da-da. But what you don't understand is, in 1979, that was lush forest. And it was beautiful and green and breathtaking. And in the blink of an eye, in a matter of hours, it was gone. That whole mountaintop blew off, and the entire landscape of that area was transformed in a matter of minutes, hours, and days. And it wasn't millions of years. And had we not seen it with our own eyes, we would have never have known it or believed it. Because what science tells us is that doesn't happen. And that's the problem.
The entire north face of Mount St. Helens
gone.
completely gone, and everything in front of it was just absolutely destroyed and devastated. And like Joe said, people in the future could have looked at that and be like, oh, that took millions and millions of years to erode, that or whatever. And no, I mean, that was a catastrophic event that took place just within a day, right? So like, just think about how rapid and radical of a change could take place if, say, Yellowstone erupted.
Exactly, because it doesn't take, this is a localized event. Now imagine a global event. When you think on the scale of a global flood, a lot of people say, well, that couldn't happen. But it very well could happen because, well, first of all, we know that there are aquifers, right? We have them. We can see them. We can quantify them. We know that there's a ton of water under the Earth's crust, even within the Earth's crust. And then you have the mantle, but you've got these pockets of water. And pre-flood, it says that the waters of the deep opened up, and you can see the fractures in the radar and the sonar pictures of the ocean floor. There's scars of these fractures where the waters of the deep came up, and then there was an ice canopy that used to surround the earth, and that ice canopy had an unbelievable effect on our environment, on the cosmic rays that came down and affected everybody, on the temperature. Pre-flood, it didn't rain. Everything was different. There were no oceans pre-flood. So, and there are records of this. There are structures pre-flood, that still exist today, these antediluvian structures. And there's evidence that shows us and tells us the story, but you have to be willing to do the homework and just do the research. And it's really, I'll be honest with you, it's quite exciting. And what you come to find out when all is said and done, guys, is it truly is freaky. That life pre-flood was Lord of the Rings. It was wizards.
Well, I had L.A. Marzulli on the other night, and he describes the Bible as the guidebook to the supernatural. And he made me think of you when I heard him saying that, Because Joe was the guy that said to me, Kev, forget everything you know about the Bible and treat it like a fantasy book. It's full of magic, it's full of UFOs, it's full of cryptids, it's full of characters. And he's right. And again, this is why I kind of buck or kind of go against the mold of Christian. Because I don't copy and paste things on social media. I don't judge other people. I've never read the full Bible, but I'll admit that. I do believe Christ was alive, and I do have my own relationship with the big man, as I call it.
Remember
You
this.
see?
Remember this. I'm going to give you, this is how should I say it? 101. The Bible was never meant to be read cover to cover. Never once.
I did.
Well, that's great. You get extra credit.
Yay.
Now, I will tell you that, is it advantageous? I don't know. That's up to you.
I like how Jimmy Jeans calls it. He says it's like a hyperdimensional zip file. You can read it and read it time and read it time again, and you'll unopen different layers every time you read it.
Kind of, sort of, but all these books and texts are
they're all valid. They all contain little pieces of the story. Yep.
It's a collection of data from.
Well, think of it this way, Joe.
Hero's journey.
It is. It's the ultimate hero's journey. But think of it this way as well. We hear about the scattering of the languages. I talk about the scattering of the story. They took the story and they fragmented it into pieces here, there, everywhere. And that's why I think all of these ancient religious texts, from the Mahabharata to the Bible, to the Quran, to the Torah, to all of them, they've all got truth in them. It's been able to have the discernment to pick it all apart, to put it all together. And again, even then, when you think you've got it all sussed and you've got it all together, always remember, always be humble, because you never have it all together,
But it's not just religious text. It's also historical text. It's also these all are just. You have to look at it as data. Just take whatever bias factor out of it. That's what I'm saying. Just look at it as raw data. I know it kind of dehumanizes it in a way, but you have to do that because humans have a way of mucking this up in a very, very horrific way. And it took me a very long time to figure this out. So if I just look at it as data, then those biases of the fact that, yeah, I do believe in Jesus, great. But I can still go and take in the I Ching in all its majesty and say, okay, I can read this and I can say that it doesn't affect my belief. Maybe it does. Who knows? But I can tell you this, every time I've done that and I've taken it for what it was, data, an observer.
What, you mean data out of Star Trek? Like data, the holographic medical
emotional chip?
I'm talking about input. I'm talking about knowledge. That's all it is. It's knowledge. You take it in. Now, you can
No
say I
ledge.
believe it. You can say I don't believe it. It doesn't really matter. But it's data, and it's things that form a more robust and more comprehensive worldview and understanding. Because with
However,
knowledge
Joe,
comes understanding.
However, could you agree that we are not our beliefs?
Oh, absolutely, we're not our beliefs.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that because, as a Paleo-American, as an Anishinaabe and Nini, when I hear you talk about the Bible, there's my ethnocentric individualism or my ego that says there's strong, valid information out there about my ancestors being here for plus 70,000 years in North America. And so
that's fantastic. That's great.
So because of that and my ethnocentrism, because I'm also English, British to be specific, and I was raised Lutheran, and so I've read the Bible.
So you're very confused.
Oh, absolutely. I feel sometimes I'm homicidal.
Let me say this, Kev, and I'll make it. This will take the confusion out of it. The truth is the truth, no matter what we believe, right?
That there is true.
When we
come back to stating the belief.
Our beliefs are just that. They're just beliefs, but it doesn't change the truth.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is because as humans, we have this natural desire and want and predetermined program to recognize the cycle. And in order to recognize the cycle, we have to collect the data, and therefore we need to go 1, 2, 3, a second, a minute, a day. So we have to create a timeline, or we have to create the number so we can count on the data to make our theory. But the one thing is that there is no absolute. There is no scientific absolute. There is always going to be an anomaly to the cycle, whether that cycle be the betas.
Would you agree that there's very little scientific fact, if any at all?
I would have to take every argument as its own measure, because there's scientific, and this is the other challenge, is that we will more likely prescribe to the scientific data that will support our belief more so than the scientific data that solidifies the truth.
That's right.
That's confirmation bias for you. It rules the world nowadays, folks. Take a look around social media.
Than ever.
Yep.
But the challenge also is that, are we able to let our egos go and have healthy conversation so we can possibly agree to be like, hey, it's either positive, it's either neutral, or it's either negative. And if it's negative, what can we collectively do to transmute the negative into positivity or minimally neutralize it? Whether you prescribe in Christianity, Hinduism, I like to use the metaphor, sorry, I'm ranting, that if you worship a duck and on the winter solstice, it lays an egg that you have to bury on the new moon at dawn and then unbury it on the full moon at dusk and then pray over it for 12 hours and it hatches a lizard that you have to lick at high noon. If that makes you or helps you become a positive person, then lick the lizard, please. Whatever it takes for you to be a positive person, please, I beg of you to do it.
Lick the
whatever
lizard.
you prescribe to.
Lick the lizard.
Yeah, I
like
that
it.
a lot. Lick the lizard, for God's sake, please.
The reptile.
Buckingham
The
Palace.
reptilian.
Buckingham Palace approved this message. Lick the reptile, Scott. Scott, look what happens when we bring them back for 1 week. Look at this. We get into some kind of like religious debate. What happened, dude? What happened to our ghosts and things?
Joe Joseph, ladies and gentlemen.
Joe Joseph, he's back. Oh my goodness.
This show is brought to you by Kev Baker's Birth Recognition Day. Please like, share, and subscribe. Join us on tfrlive.com and anywhere you can find KBS.
I'm trying to take it away from there.
No, I like where we're going, but let me ask you, right? Let's have a 5-minute breather before I let you boys go back at it. Joe, any more? Scott, can we just like carry on for half an hour ourselves?
Well, I was going to ask you, did you ever go down the rabbit hole of the video I sent you?
Okay, last night, after I got finished speaking with Scott, and after Pearlie, thank you, Pearlie, for giving birth to me this day. And Pearlie even just messaged. Pearlie. She said, you know what Pearlie said? She says, ooh, this is getting a bit heated. I love it. She loves the drama. She loves the drama. But Scott, when I got finished with my mum, I sent her the video. I sent my brother the video. Because for the first time in a long time, my friend, I'd come across something that I could get my teeth into. Something that was truly a mystery. Something that was truly irking me. So what I did was, I went and I contacted my other good friend. And I thought, if I'm going down this rabbit hole, I'm not going down alone. And I went all the way to Canada. I got Nancy and I said, Nancy, oh Nancy, have I got the mystery for me and you to take a look at? And Nancy says, oh, I only caught the end of that. I only caught the end of it. And to catch people up who might not have heard about this, Scott had presented a TikTok channel where a couple and a man or an individual had woken up in a hospital over in Valencia in Spain. And it was weird because they had woken up and there was nobody else there, nobody in the hospital, no one around, no one outside. And what he came to discover was it wasn't even 2021 anymore. It was 2027. Now, there's a whole series of videos, and I looked, and myself and Nancy looked. This channel, it's good. You know, usually you can go back on places like Apex TV, and you can see where there's been a change in the marketing, a change in the grift. But no, lo and behold, I look at this TikTok channel, and this was fully two people touring around, not just Spain, but other parts, not just Valencia, but other parts of Spain as well, where they claimed that they were the only people left. There was nobody there. Now, Scotty Lopez, I must admit, it took me a little bit of time, but myself and Nancy did find one bit of footage. One bit of footage, sir, where we seen a car. We seen a car traveling down a side road. Now, it led me and Nancy on a little bit of a discovery, a little trail. And we found that Adobe, you know, I like my After Effects. Well, they've got a thing. They've got a little thing, Scotty Lopez. And I'm not saying this is how it was done, all right, because me and Nancy both agreed that despite the fact we're maybe not buying it fully, there's something to this, right? There's something weird about it. But there is an Adobe program called Adobe, now I can't remember off the top of my head, I'll get it in a moment. But you can literally take people and objects out of videos and content aware. It looks like there was nothing ever there, okay? Again, that's not to say that's what this guy done. It's only to say that this technology exists. So to your question, did I check it out? Absolutely, dude. I dived right down that rabbit hole. It's one of the most fascinating things I've seen in many a year. Talk to the audience about it, dude, because we're on radio first and foremost. I'll dig up a video so people could see it in the background. But tell people, I mean, give them the story. How did you come across this?
Well, I came across this from my mom, and my mom is always excellent at digging up.
Can I say this without sounding really weird and creepy? But I love Tana. I love your mom. and I say that without being weird. Okay.
No, she's excellent at finding this kind of stuff, and you know, I was like, wow, I mean, that's perfect Freaky Friday material, right?
We need to get your mum and my mum synced up, dude. Your mum likes the games on Facebook and things. My mum can't get away from games on Facebook. We need to it's a synchronicity, Scott, right? It's like our mums get on. That's weird.
I think if those two were to ever get together, that would be like some kind of a crazy like power
Project Cloak. Adobe Project Cloak. There she is. My fellow sufferer, Nancy in the chat room. Nancy, big shout out to you. She had to put up with she had to tolerate my down the rabbit hole ventures last night. Yep.
So I'll just give people a kind of a basic rundown of what's going on with
Joe,
this.
you're
right?
gonna love this, dude. You're gonna love this.
Joe, you're gonna like this, man. It's pretty good. So this guy has a TikTok page, right? And he's been posting these videos. You know, he claims that he woke up in a hospital and that nobody was there. Like everybody's gone. He's walking around Valencia, you know, filming. There's nobody in the streets. He's going to famous landmarks. There's nobody there. He's people. But what's crazy is like he'll go up to like there'll be like computers and stuff that are still on. You know, there's like still power and everything, but everybody's gone. And when he goes up to like a computer or something, the date says it's 2027. But it's the date, but the month and the day are the same as like if he was in 2021. So people are like thinking, is this like a parallel? Is he in a parallel dimension? Like, is he in a parallel timeline? Like we're somehow 2027 and 2021 are yeah, see, look at this. He's going up to computers and it says, you know, 2027 and
isn't it typical that Windows is still needing an update by then?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what's crazy is that somehow he's still connected to 2021 because he has access to internet and people can comment on his posts to TikTok. But what gets crazier is that, you know, people are like, okay, so maybe he's just going out early in the morning when nobody's out and about and he's, you know, filming this stuff and, you know, but then people are telling him, hey, go here, just giving him random locations to go to.
Well,
and
here we're watching one right here. We're watching one right here. This is one of these random locations. And he walks into a building. And to give people even more of a kind of story to this, there's one instance where he walks into a police compound. It's not just a police station because there's like a gated community and he knows the code to get in the gate. He goes in, he goes up to the police station door and that's cool. Well, anyone can do that. There's been lockdowns. People aren't at home. I get that. But then the guy also goes up to the police car and he just casually like gets in the police car and starts playing about in the police car to show you like I'm just here, nobody challenging me. I'm just a dude with an Adidas tracksuit on in a police car.
I think one of the biggest things is when he went to the hospital and there's nobody in the hospital. You would think that giving the events that have occurred over the past year that there would be people in a hospital and just in general people in a hospital.
Well, to be logical as well, there's also, when you go to the hospitals, and I've noticed this in the Glasgow Royal, there's wards that are totally not used now because they create a barrier between the kind of where people are, and then there's a barrier, so there'll be wards empty, and then the wards behind that will be for something. Yeah. So it's not, again, I'm not saying this is debunking it, Scotty, Joe, Kevin. I'm just saying that we have to be logical and we say, well, there is empty wards that you could film right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Was he wearing a purple Adidas track suit with purple Adidas shoes, and he's part of that opposite cult of Heaven's Gate?
It could be actually, because it did actually. It wasn't black, but something makes me actually think it was a purplish kind of color.
I was stuck down that rabbit hole last night too. Thank you, Scotty.
So what are we thinking then? What do you think, Nacy? Nacy, I've not spoke to you about it. What do you think about it then?
Well, being who I am, Nacy, you know, right away with my wanting to find the conspiracy theory, not the conspiracy theory, the assumption, the theory of what's happening, I ponder always from the perspective of how will the powers that should not be weaponize anything to keep us on their agenda in their social conditioning.
I don't think this is the powers that shouldn't be. I'm going to hazard a guess that this isn't some cabal move.
But here's my theory. Here's my theory. Let me throw it out there first.
Okay.
Okay, so if the powers that could not be can create this kind of video, which has been reproduced by Hollywood on many, many different times in different scenarios of movies. So if they can generate that on a TikTok, and if they can get a certain percentage of the populace to believe it is what it is, then they are changing the narrative of the possibility of time travel, the possibility of dimensional or portal shifts or changes. So if we continue to question everything without accepting the fact that we're living, breathing entities and should just do positive things, then they're winning if they keep us distracted.
But I've said to you before, a distraction is only a distraction if you let it become so. You see?
That's right.
Exactly. I absolutely agree.
My shoelace can be a distraction if I let it become so.
Right. And I've gotten caught within oubliettes going down the rabbit hole because
don't spoil my woo, man. This was good time traveler woo. Now you've gone all creepy. You've how did you manage to take good time traveler woo and make it creepy?
But Kev Baker, if you wish, sir, I will come there to Scotland and show you about portals and time travel. We'll build up a Native American wigwam and we'll do ceremony and ritual. And brother, I'll show you a portal.
You see, I want to see your portal. I want to see your portal, dude. I want to inspect your portal before you get anywhere near mine. That's all I'm going to say. But before you kill my woo, come on, guys. Come on. Without, the powers that shouldn't be. I don't think George Soros sat somewhere and thought, you know what, Bill Gates, I'm going to put this video together.
But
you know what?
Have.
I refuse to let anybody spoil the woo for me tonight.
Thank you, Scott.
And you know what? I don't care if it's a distraction or not, because you know what? If everything is a distraction, then we're not going to have any
good woo. Yeah, and listen, right, to the radio audience, the part of the video we're on here, this person has gone into a top-end car dealer. It's a BMW showroom, and they've just wandered in there. They're picking up the keys to cars.
Because they just so happen to leave one on the desk, right?
Well, if people have disappeared and been raptured, they are where they are, right?
Do you remember the magazine Adbusters?
Kev, I'm going deep fake.
You're going with the
Project Cloak, Adobe Cloak. Is that where you're going?
Adobe Cloak. Yeah. I can't.
Now there's something else myself and Nancy spotted, and I'll put it out there. And people now that I mention it, people will go, "But I wouldn't have noticed that unless he mentioned it." See, when the guy's walking along, there's something really weird and kooky about the way that the walk goes. It's not a natural walk. It's like a really rhythmic up and down kind of way.
Yeah.
You know? If I was rigging a camera on After Effects, it would have a nice rock to it. I don't know, but Scott, take it away, dude.
Look, the chat is backing me up. They're not liking all of this going on here. Okay. And this is
democracy.
This is Freaky Friday, guys. We got to get freaky with it.
Harley's saying no danger. Harley's going full fake. Harley, she's with Joe Joseph. It's hokey as hell.
Oh yeah. But I'll go. Hey, let me just be the pessimist here. I'm done. So now let me put. I'll go the other way. Oh, God, what a wonderful piece of woo you have here.
Come on, don't. No, there's no need to be a Joe about it. There's no need to be a full Joe about it. Come on.
Okay.
Why, Scotty, what a wonderful example of woo for Friday. Cool.
That's fine.
Very nice, Kevin. But in all honesty, how crazy would that be to be like the only person in the world.
Scott,
May I share a dream of mine?
Do you want me just to kick them off? Because I can. I can just kick them off and we'll just do our woo.
So a
And
reoccurring
if
dream.
it was the rapture, think about this. If the rapture was true and that
Well, I'll show
actually
you. I'll quickly show you the bit where me and Nancy kind of stopped watching, right? And this, for people at home, you're not going to
Is
see
that
this,
it, where,
right?
like the trash
Well,
was?
if you look over to the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see apartment buildings. And just beyond the major roundabout, you're going to see a problem because there's a set of headlights emerge from one of the kind of roads over there. So I think Project Cloak, they forgot to remove this set of lights, but I'm just saying.
It's just like today, people trying to get
no,
away
that
with
isn't.
murder.
Is that the
yeah.
bit? No, it's not the bit. I don't think.
When people try to get away with murder, you know what happens? They always overlook something. They always overlook something.
Well, guys, you know, it's not my feelings you're hurting. It's my mom's feelings you're hurting. And
Oh no! Now you made me feel really crap.
Oh,
I feel bad.
Okay, so now I can't see it there. Now it's gonna. Now, this is right. Can I just say? Can I just say, Nancy? Now I'm weirded out because I'm looking at this part of the video that we looked at last night, and I can't see the same vehicle.
Where's these mysterious headlights, Kev?
See, the powers that should not be have watched the algorithm, and now they had to hurry up.
There
jump
it is.
in there
There it
and
is.
swipe
There
out.
it is. Actually, there it is. It's still there.
They don't.
It is
Hey,
still
hey,
there.
don't let the
it's
facts
right
get in
there.
the way of a good story, Kev.
It's
Come
right
on.
there. It's right there. I can see it. Look,
We
look,
gotta
look, look,
use-
look,
we
look,
gotta
look. There it goes. There it goes. There it comes out. Look. Yep. It's quick. It's quick. I'll need to slow it down even more. Look. Hang on. Hang on now. Oh, God, don't do this to me, Mandela effects. Here we go. Here we go.
Zoom in, zoom in, enhance. Zoom in, enhance.
The Mandela effect now.
Now we're
Come
going
on.
slow enough. Now we're going slow enough. Now we're going slow. Look, see, look here. Look at this. It's moving. Look, look at that. Look at that little. Look. Oh, see. We caught it. We caught it.
Wow, it's about as clear as the pixels.
Look,
that
it was clear last night. I'm not going through it again. We've done it. Listen, don't go there.
I used to have a reoccurring dream to when I could see that in my dream, I would wake up in the morning and get ready to go to college, which was right across the street from me, and I would be in my wheelchair. And I went out, and all of a sudden, I started coming upon dead bodies everywhere. And I got to the campus, and I realized I wasn't able to get through the campus because there were so many dead bodies. Like all of a sudden, some mass extinction thing happened where everybody just dropped where they were, and cars were in the street and everything. And yeah, and it was a reoccurring nightmare that was horrific, because imagine being in a wheelchair and trying to get from one spot to the other. And cars are in the way, bodies are in the way. Yeah. No fun. So when you talk about that extinction event or even, the 4400, the rapture, it will be nerve-wracking if
I don't buy the rapture. I'll be really, really, really controversial. I don't buy the rapture.
If we're gonna shut something down, that's down.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm
Right?
actually.
At least
Let's leave.
It's just like
Listen.
Ange just said. It's just like Ange just said.
Oh, the voice. The voice.
The cops at a minimum would be here, right? They'd still be on this planet if it was a rapture. So it'd be like one person.
Well, when
trying
you
to
think about it, right?
steal a Mercedes
Listen, dude.
with all the cops around.
There's 7.5 billion people on the planet, right? Are we really going to miss 144,000?
But what if the rapture is when we lose the argument to that extraterrestrial entities and they say we taste like chicken and there's an
Blue
agreement with the
chickens
country?
only if they taste like blue chicken.
Actually, we taste more like pork. We're actually one gene off from the pig.
Scott, listen, Scott. He knows. He actually went to school with Jeffrey Daimler. He told me one night. He says, "I went to school with Big Jeff." Yeah. Learn all his culinary skills from the big man.
It's a small world, Kev. What can I tell you?
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
In the Bible, when Jesus cast the spirits into the pigs, and then the pigs allegedly went down and drowned themselves.
Into the swine.
Yes. I like my breakfast biscuits and gravy.
How did we get the pigs and the swine? Where are we going? We've got 1 hour to go, guys.
Bacon and eggs, American's breakfast.
Hey. What about these teens that, you know how these teens these days, they don't even look straight ahead when they walk. They're looking down, and oftentimes they're taking the selfies and everything else. Well, could you imagine taking a selfie at the exact same moment you're getting struck by lightning?
I couldn't imagine it, but you know what I'd do? I'd be thinking, oh, that's 1 million views, man.
It just happened. I mean, unless this is fake too, but they ended up in the hospital, and it just happened right in London, in South London, Hampton Court Palace, right? It says here, Rachel, Isabel, and Andrew Jobson were out for a bike ride when they paused under a tree to snap a selfie in an electrical storm, of course, because that's always good. Because what did Mom teach us, right? You don't go under a tree in a freaking electrical storm. But it's okay, because the Jobson family apparently didn't get that memo. So they went under the tree and tried to snap a selfie, and that was a selfie right there.
Look at that. I can see what Paradoilia is telling me, a face and an ear down here in the bottom left. We've got another face here with maybe a hat on or a really dodgy mullet haircut. Dude.
It is kind of dodgy, yes.
That's
Scotty.
By the way, Isabel, who's 23, a PhD student, by the way, well, she's going to have to go back and do a little restudy on maybe go to the University of Common Sense for a second and say, well, should I have been standing under a tree in an electrical storm? Probably not the best idea, but I digress. She says, I took a picture of us smiling, and then we wanted a sad picture in the rain. All of a sudden, I was on the ground, and I couldn't hear anything apart from this high-pitched buzzing, because I just had millions and billions of volts and watts and everything else course through my skin, and I was numb, and I couldn't move. Imagine that. It says we were taking a picture with our phone, and the next thing, I was on the ground disjointed. My sister and I were screaming, Rachel said. I got burn on my thigh and my stomach. Wow, really? Is that... It's just lightning. You know?
I think the most surprising thing about this story is that you got 3 teenagers out the house at one time.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty impressive that they were on their bikes and doing something physical. But that's not the point. The point is, they're under a tree. Well, we wanted to get a cute selfie in the rain.
But for Scotty, I call shenanigans, and this is why. You said it occurred in London. So if it occurred in London, they would not have gone to the hospital. They would have gone to hospital.
No, we'd have gone to the hospital. We say the...
I thought they don't say the in the United Kingdom.
I'm sure some people might say that. I'm sure some people might. I'm sure some people might not. It's not a deal breaker.
But the Native American, my ancestors, if you get struck by lightning, which happens, and if you get struck by lightnings, there's a strong possibility you might be called what is known as a Wendigo Con. Not a Wendigo, a Wendigo Con.
What's the difference, man?
So if the Wendigo...
I'm having a flashback of Star Trek 2, by the way.
I know, it's excellent, isn't it? It's brilliant, isn't it?
If a Wendigo is the, as I talk about the Holy Trinity, if the Wendigo is negative, the Wendigo Con is positive. And allegedly it's the fight or the battle between light and dark, good and evil. The Wendigos and the Wendigo Con.
Scotty Lopez. Gonna chip in here. What's happening, dude? What's happening, man?
Well, I mean, I want to first to say that is an excellent piece of woo that Joe had brought to the table there with the lightning. But you know, I heard that there's an After Effects plugin that you can use to add lightning to photos.
Lightning strike.
Well, was that the sun? No, this is like Petapixel. I don't even know what that freaking website is. Normally, it's the UK Sun that gets sold the bill of goods.
No, the Express. The Express, dude. The Express.
The New York Post. Oh man, they got it. So no, they ended up in the hospital.
I think I'm gonna have to zoom in on that photo and that lightning bolt is.
Yeah, scroll down to the Twitter post by Tooting Newsy. If you go down on that article, there's actual pictures of them in the hospital afterwards.
We'll give them credit. We'll give them credit then.
Come on, Joe. Nothing. A little bit of practical effects, you
know. Oh, no, that is not a hospital scene in their father's garage.
No, I'm liking it now. I'm liking it now. I'm liking it because you've got them under and that looks like a lightning burn. Look at it. It's got the forkedness on it. Look, I'm buying it, dude. I'm with you, Joe. Hang on here. I'm with you.
Yeah, we got some corroborating evidence here. I'm not, but yeah, this is definitely much more credible than all the humans on the Earth disappearing, especially when cops get raptured. Hello, wrong.
Well, there's other bits in that video me and Nancy caught where he just happens to know where a book is stashed in a film studio. Not buying the time traveler, but I'm buying the lightning.
A synchronicity to the lightning. This last week, and my buddy who was here, who helped me do some ritual and ceremony, we hung up my oak tree piece that my brother saw a lightning strike hit an oak tree, and I asked my buddy to go and get a piece of the oak tree, and we hung it up in my room because we're waiting for the moment to present ourselves to make a new magic wand.
You're making wands? Joe, we need a wand, man. We need a wand. I think that'd be pretty cool if we had a wand.
$19.99. I'll make you a wand. $19.99.
I will get Johnny King on it.
Johnny King, man. Johnny King, I like it.
Yeah. Speaking of lightning strikes, you know, we had this tree in our front yard that we just called it the lightning tree because it was hit multiple times by lightning and half of it.
Can I have a branch?
Dead.
Can I have a branch?
No, it's pretty much all been thrown in a burn pile. So
yeah. Very nice indeed.
It is no more. You know, the lightning tree is no more, so it's not going to take any more lightning strikes because of the
bad juju tree.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had like 70, 80 mile an hour winds blow through at like 3 a.m, and that tree is no longer with us. It was thrown across our driveway. So.
Speaking of crazy weather, right? I don't know about you guys. Have you been experiencing any crazy weather?
Yeah, we've got sunshine over here.
Well, you said it was like Death Valley in Scotland. I get that.
Well, it's not quite that bad, but we're having a good summer.
Scotland.
Here it is like monsoon season, unlike it's ever been.
Okay, Germany, you've had people getting washed away in Germany.
Except for Germany, yeah. Germany's a lot worse. I was complaining, but I have no reason to complain after seeing what's going on. Also, in Germany and Belgium, the dikes up there are bursting. You have unbelievable mudslides going on. They're saying that it hasn't flooded like that in 200 years. Okay. I'm saying it probably has never flooded like that because we have never been so dependent on services like sewage and water delivery, electricity. I mean, everybody knows. Go into your living room, sit your family down, and then go to your circuit breaker and throw your main and live without power for a day. And tell me how it impacts your life. You know, just that simple change, that simple throwing of the breaker upends your life in a way that you can't even imagine it until you actually try to live it for an extended period of time. And now take a look at that. Couple that with all the disease that comes with that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And then it happening in the middle of the summer when you're going to have, mosquitoes and things like that start to settle in, and malaria. And, oh, man. Here in the United States, the last time, at least historically, something like this happened in the same or similar vein was the Johnstown floods. And that was an unbelievable catastrophe that wiped out, 3 complete towns in the late 19th century here in the United States, in Ohio, Pennsylvania, right around there, where you're talking about just a deluge of water very fast. Here's another great example of what can happen in minutes and hours, right? It's just crazy. In this instance, it was so bad that even the sewage lines were totally destroyed. I mean, it washed them away. There's nothing left of their infrastructure. You talk about Carrington events, and that would be catastrophic. But look at this. This is localized catastrophe. And how many months is it going to take for this town or these towns to recover from something like this? And then the next question is, well, what's next? Now we see all this instability with our weather, with the earthquakes, with volcanoes. What's next?
Weather manipulation.
It's interesting because, like, the weather pattern has been getting really weird, and it's not following the usual patterns that I'm used to, because I'm usually pretty good at predicting like what kind of like the next storm season is going to be like and all that stuff. And
planets are changing, Scott. The planets are changing.
Changes.
It hasn't really been playing out the way that I really have been anticipating, right? Like, I thought that this year was going to be a really, really bad tornado season here in the Midwest, and actually it hasn't really been that bad. I mean, there's been tornadoes and stuff, but it seems like a lot of the tornado outbreaks lately have been happening down along the Gulf Coast and then down in the southern states.
Winter's coming.
And so it's been relatively mild as far as like tornado season and stuff goes. Now, the other day there was kind of like a localized outbreak of tornadoes in Iowa, but I mean, it's just been really weird, and we've had a lot of rain, and it's still raining, in our area, and this is like our dry season should be starting to kick in. June, July, we usually don't get very much rain at all. Our storm season is like March, April, May. That's kind of when it starts, towards the end of March, and then into April and May and beginning of June. But then from that point
according to my ancestors, our new year starts at the spring equinox. And the new moon that we just had, according to the number of the new moons from the equinox, we are already into August and its new moon. So this full moon that's coming up next week, that's going to be the full moon of August, according to my ancestors. If you count from the beginning of the cycle to us, the Anishinaabe, is the spring and the equinox, and then you start counting the new moons from that moment on. And the way that it's showing, the cedar tree in my front yard is already budding and full of seeds, and that doesn't happen until the end of August.
Interesting. I know, it's just been weird, man. And then you have, this huge heat wave that's going all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, and then even up into Canada. Like, they're getting 100 plus temperatures,
Let me say this real quick there, big guy. For California, California to me is kind of the exception to the rule, because California was historically arid. Yeah. And then for the last 100 years or so, it saw unprecedented rain, and they decided, oh, yes, well, you know, it rained, and we started planting vegetables and really centered our agriculture in the United States and California, because we kind of took for granted the fact that it was a desert basically before then. And we just took this unprecedented level of moisture and rain and, a good environment to grow agriculture there. But that's not historically the norm. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
well,
like
if you look,
we got a very short sight, Scotty.
If you pay attention to this.
Well, I was going to say, no, Joe's right. I mean, California has always, if you look historically, it's been more of an arid sort of climate. And like you said, they've kind of turned it into a agricultural zone by redirecting water and all of that stuff, right? So, yeah, there is that, but to see this crazy heat wave go all the way up into like British Columbia in Canada. Now that area is not an arid area, and they're getting 100-degree plus temperatures up there. So there's definitely something going on. But no, you're right. You're right about the California thing. Go ahead.
If we look at the Rockies, the Rocky Mountains, okay, there is a pattern that is dictated by when the storm seasons come or when the winds start shifting as the earth goes through its cycle. When that jet stream or that current, if it goes to the west of the Rocky Mountains, then California will get more rain. If it goes to the east of the Rocky Mountains, then Scotty's going to get more rain. So what's been occurring because of this shift of the earth, that pattern is more over to the west of the Rockies than it is on the east of the Rockies. And this is the cycle, depending on when you step back and you look at the cycle. Do you look at the cycle over the last 500 years, or do you have access to that information of 1,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago, where you look at the bigger picture of the cycles? Because that's what I believe, which is validated by my ancestors, that weather shifts.
It does shift. That's the only thing that I can guarantee. Everything changes.
Yes.
And over here, we've got really good weather right now, like really good. But when I was growing up, we used to just call this summer. You know what I mean? Now, I get that there's some like weather activity that's out of the norm. Good friend Nancy was telling me they're just like 70 odd miles from her, we had a tornado, Scotty. Now, tornado for you, that's like an everyday occurrence, right? But when you're talking about Canada, where Nancy is, that's out of the ordinary. So as much as I kind of like laugh and joke about it's hot over here, it's summer, there is weird weather anomalies going on, big time.
Absolutely,
I can't deny that.
There definitely interesting, like you said, anomalies and changes that are occurring, and I just think it completely ties into the stuff that we've been talking about, right? The magnetic poles moving around, the solar activity,
the galactic center, the charge wave.
Things change.
Yep, exactly, Nacy. It's
microcosm.
The only constant in the universe is change. It's the only constant.
We got a winner.
Yep.
Winner, chicken dinner.
And I mean, we all know, what is the main driver of weather on this planet? Ding, 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 the sun.
No, go figure. You mean that big, like, glowing nuclear thing? No.
Yeah.
You mean Luke Skywalker?
That big nuclear plasma ball in the sky?
Who knew, dude? I kind of discounted that thing, but who knew?
Yeah, that seems to be the main driver of everything. And so when the sun starts acting up and doing weird things, then we are going to see weird things and changes happening right here.
Here comes the sun. Have you guys ever looked into that? I'm trying to remember who it was, but there was an indigenous people that I think it was China actually, that they have in their historical records that the sun actually rose in the east. I mean, in the west, and not in the east.
You see, for that kind of thing, why doesn't the rest of the world have that? Because if it rose in the wrong place for one part of the world, it should rise in the wrong place for all of the world.
I actually
Shouldn't
just the other
Shouldn't
day.
it though? Am I wrong, or am I being just like totally dismissory there?
No, you're right, but actually it wasn't just in China, because this was also referenced in some other cultures as well.
Well, we talked Genesis tonight, and I think that might be the chapter that talks about like the 3 days of darkness and things like that,
and the 3 day of light.
Yep.
So are we talking about a time when the Earth spun the opposite way?
When the moon, before the moon struck it?
Yeah, who knows? Like I mean, what was the Earth rotating one direction, and something happened and caused it to
the strike of the
moon? Did it
was
re-identify
so
or something? Did it go from a he to a she? Did it identify by a new pronoun? Is that what we're saying?
I'll buy that.
I think the moon deserves a pronoun.
Well, I have been digging into my ancestors where they talk about the Earth.
Nacy, are you really wanting to admit to grave robbing on the show? You've been digging into your ancestors. Come on now.
Oh,
now, come
only
on.
Only the European side of me.
Well, see, this is wrong. See, it's bad behavior. Whatever part of your genetic code has led you to this place, it's wrong, Nacy. Stop digging people up.
The mounds, digging into the mound builders.
Bad juju, man. Bad juju.
Right? Absolutely. But they talk about the Earth, some of them, they talk about how the Earth isn't just feminine. It's masculine too.
No, damn.
Just like you have
dude,
the northern...
Now, see, we're going to have to get all woke and inclusive. Come on, dude.
I'm going back to sleep. Forget
the planet's a she. The planet's a she. Can we agree? She's a she. Everything to Scott Lopez is a she. We discovered this last night. His webcam's a she. You don't get to participate, Scott. Everything's a she to you, right?
I guess so. I fired her up, Kev. She was.
Can we call Earth they? They singular.
When I Me Too'd myself, when I got in touch with my feminine side, and I forgot to ask permission.
Never good. Never good when you forget to ask yourself permission. See, this is where it all goes wrong.
And the feminine side of me for Joe is Nessie, but the masculine side of me is Nacy.
Does that mean you're a Nessie? If you're like they?
I don't know what the well, the whole Holy Trinity, positive, neutral, negative.
You know what, guys? See, like, I'm 45 today. And there's like a real big part of me that's like, 45. I remember St. Old Pearly. Oh, you're 45. That's ancient, right? We've all been there. But then there's another part of me, right? Because, yeah, sure, I'd love to go back to being 21 in the army. A set of shoulders that I don't have anymore. Looking great. Charming the women. But now, see, like, going back to 21-year-old now, Scotty, like the world the way it is now, it terrifies me, dude. Terrifies me. The world was a far simpler place just 20 years ago.
If we were going to go back to
20 years ago, you used to have to, like, there was this, remember, like, there was this weird thing, this weird old ritual, this custom, where you would like bump into a physical human being, right? You would go through that whole kind of courting thing. Like you would speak to them physically. You would get to know them. You would take them out. You would romance them, blah, de, blah. Nowadays,
brown
just
chicken, brown cow.
swiping. Yeah, dude.
I know.
Am I getting old? Because, I mean, there's a lot of brown chicken, brown cow going on right now, but it terrifies me, dude.
And if you were lucky, they might write down that phone number.
If
and
you
might
were
have
lucky, yep.
The real phone number.
Exactly, Nancy. Exactly, the real one.
Number. Yeah.
If I get another number for a pizza shop, I'll be very disappointed, Scott.
I want somebody to create an app where you take your mobile device, and on the app is a checkbox or a check marking of consensual contact. And you have to take your app or you have to take your mobile device and another person's mobile device and
what if the mobile
mimic
device
slamming them together.
But no, listen, look. You see, you're trying to be woke, but you're not going fully woke. Because at any point did you ask your phone if it consents to what you're about to do? You see, no.
Ooh.
You see, you didn't think the full thing through. It's a machine that's got rights. You didn't ask if it consented to that. See, Scott, I know how to play this woke game.
But I don't think the mobile device is quite as that.
Doesn't matter.
AI.
Doesn't matter. It's got Siri on it. She talks to me. It doesn't matter. It does. She looks like AOC. Don't destroy it for me, Nancy. Come on.
No, but you're right, Kev. Like, if can you imagine like being 21 in this day and age?
No.
Like, yeah. If I was gonna go be 21 again, I would have to take that little time traveling machine back to when I actually was 21.
As a man with big ears, radio face, and somebody that doesn't take a really good, pleasant selfie, I'd be struggling, dude. I'd be struggling for extracurricular activities. You know what I'm saying? I'd be getting swiped left, right, and centre. See, I don't even know how the whole swiping kind of mentality works, dude. I'm missing out. Joe, where's Joe? He'd be able to tell us, right?
Yeah.
Give us the answer, Joe.
Damn,
hey,
it's like pulling
Joe,
teeth.
where you going with that data in your hand?
Exactly. 35 minutes to go. It's going to be a long 35 minutes. I can just tell.
No, it's a blink of the eye.
No, but it's going to be a long 35. We've got Joe on board. I'm only joking, but listen, when we finish here, A, I'm going to play Scrabble, as I do. But B, you don't have to tolerate me playing Scrabble. You can go on over to Brent Thomas, because he's going to fire up the paranormal portal. He's going to take you through that. No lube, no creepiness, just paranormal, just supernatural. It's what Brent does best. he keeps it uncreepy. I'm going to try and keep it uncreepy for him. It's the least I can do.
Indeed. And speaking of Brent Thomas and the Paranormal Portal, August 13th is rapidly approaching, isn't it?
Less than a month, Scott. Tell them what's happening.
And, with the acceleration of the Earth's rotation, that day will be rapidly approaching us.
And the acceleration of the time, the angle of the dangle, the trajectory of the portal.
Exactly.
Telling you,
and
dude.
The alignment.
Once that date is upon us, Friday the 13th in August, we will be having our 5-hour Woo extravaganza.
5 for 5.
The collision of the powerhouses, Freaky Friday and Paranormal Portal. We clash and
freaky Paranormal Friday Portal.
Yes, indeed. And the last time we the Paranormal Portal and Freaky Friday hooked up, it was an excellent. It was one to go into the book summit. We got into everything. I think we touched every single facet of Woo that you could possibly touch upon. I mean, we got into.
And we asked permission.
Yeah, UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, anomalous, anomalous phenomenon. We covered the whole gambit, and so yeah, everybody, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Full deep Woo. Excuse me.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's what I say to 5 hours in the portal.
Sounds
boys.
more like Anger 18 to me, I tell you.
Anger
I don't like them
18.
putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand?
Turn the freaking frogs gay.
See, Joe, see what happens when you go away. Come on, Joe. It might be my birthday, but it's your party tonight. Come on. What else do you want to relay to your audience? Come on, man.
Bring it on, Joe.
No, let him talk. He's all muted up and he doesn't know.
I totally know. Physicists take a big step.
Oh, Joe, come on, man. Joe. Bloody hell, dude. Oh, my God, man.
Hey, what did the dike say before it burst? Okay, I'm gonna throw up.
That's basically what it said.
That's about it.
It's only a little dinner wafer.
Oh, boom, boom. Right, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe.
Physicists take a big step and race to quantum computing. Did you know, Kev, that
Google. They've done error correction, right? No. Wrong one. Wrong story.
This is a peer-reviewed article.
Oh, well. Let me just say.
This is straight from Harvard.
Oh, wow.
Bruh.
Wow.
That's right. A team of physicists, my friends, have developed a special type of quantum computer known as a
do you know what it discovered, Joe?
quantum simulator.
Do you know what it discovered? It discovered this.
Boobies aren't things that give you milk. Boobies are things that kill you.
See?
They are.
They are.
Death by booby.
They are. However, but listen to this. This is interesting. It's a programmable quantum simulator capable of operating with 256 qubits. 256, Kev. The system marks a major step towards building large-scale quantum machines that could be used to shed light on a host of things like quantum processes, and eventually help bring about, like general intelligence and things like breakthroughs in material science, all these things that we don't have the computing power for now. Think about it. This thing comes around in the blink of an eye, boop, thumb, you want your answer? It's done in minutes. It's not done in years or
microseconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy.
That was nice. Microseconds.
The type of computing power we've got here.
Well, I tell you what, Joe, just the other day, the reason I brought up Google was there's been a major breakthrough that they've made. And one of the things that I found out when I was working with Anthony Patch and then spoke to Geordie Rose, error correction. It's a nightmare. You think of quantum effects, and we talk about the observer effect. But when it comes to quantum effects, the reason they keep it cooled to the kind of temperature of space is to try and protect it from electromagnetic fields, because that's the observer. Anything like that can come and collapse it. And then Google the other day, they'd come up with a really cool thing, a way of getting around error correction, and a way of setting up a pile of qubits to act as some kind of sub-quantum network that would take care of all of that and let the other qubits within the network do their thing. So this is another thing that's going to help speed up your quantum computers. But what I'm watching as well is advancements in superconductors and the way that they're able to now get them working at room temperature. Because that's quite key as well.
Rate.
Yeah, that's quite key as well, because then if you're starting to look at that kind of thing, you're starting to look at maybe quantum effects at room temperature, as opposed to having to freeze them cryogenically. And once they can crack that, boy. And I know people want to like run away and get scared of the AI, the quantum computers, and I really take on board. I probably played a big part in that. And now when I look back, I think a lot of that fear that we had about the quantum computers was misplaced. We're a long way away from the kind of quantum computer that we were speculating about. But not only that, before we even get anywhere near that, there's people who we can save their lives with these quantum computers. I'm not saying that lightly. We can save their lives with medical advancements, medicines. And I know we can focus on the bad things all the time, but it's like a gun. Do we always focus on the guns being bad in America? No, we don't. We focus on the right reason for them. We like to talk about responsible people, and responsible use of a quantum computer could be a paradigm changer.
It could be.
From
It very well
textiles
could.
and chemicals and physics and things like skin cancer. I use this example all the time because it's hard to get away from, but that can really like change the game if 6 months ahead of time there's a technology that can say, oh, flag that up. That's a possible melanoma. Or you wait for the doctor to maybe catch it. That could be the difference between life and death. So that for me, it's like it's any technology, good and bad.
Yeah,
but yeah, I still keep my eye on the quantum, Scotty, Joe, and they say big time.
Full spectrum.
Yeah.
Positive, neutral, negative.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a tool, and it's a tool, and it all depends on how the tool is used.
Yeah.
You know.
I got to party with Jonathan from Tool.
Nice.
Nice. You can use a hammer to build a house and provide shelter, right? Or you can use a hammer to bludgeon somebody. You know.
Still a hammer. Still a hammer.
Still a
Maxwell
hammer.
Silver Hammer. Bang, bang,
Yeah,
Maxwell Silver Hammer.
So it's the same with these technologies, right? With like AI and quantum computers and all of that stuff. They're just tools, and it all depends on how the tool is used and who's using the tool and what their motives are for using it. So
I'm not afraid of AI.
Nah, same here, Nacy. I used to be.
Yeah, I've chilled out.
There's a
when it
scary
comes
side to it, guys. I mean, we can't be naive to that.
You can't turn a blind eye to the what could happen if it was.
I can.
Well, you can because technically you're the only one here that can. See, he's playing that blind card again. See how he does that. So listen. We've got 25 minutes left. Let me interrogate my good mate. And Joe, as much as we laugh and we joke, man, dude, I have absolutely missed you. Missed you big time, dude. Love you long time.
You guys too.
But like one of the things that we used to touch on, and big shout out to Ange as well. Some people might not have met Ange. She's the sensible one in Joe's house. We talked about shadow people, paranormal, supernatural. Any weirdness happening around you, dude? Any of that weird woo going on still? No?
No, well, the last thing that happened really was Ange's time slip, where all of a sudden she was vaulted into the future to see what happened, only to get put back.
Right.
And it was crazy, dude. You remember that?
I remember that.
Time warp?
For 1 second there, Scott, I thought we had missed an episode of time slippage.
If that was the case, I missed it, or maybe I'm slipping right now. I don't know.
Hey, we're all slipping, dude.
Last Freaky Friday, I was sharing my loss of time.
You are?
Yep.
That was a weird one, dude.
That was some pretty wild. That was some wild woo that Naysay brought.
You know what happens a lot here?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. See, I've inspired some Joda. Here we go. Let full Joda.
Things come up missing. Things come up.
The Minutemen. Did the Minutemen visit you?
And then all of a sudden they just show up in weird places. And then the one time the pie plate goes flying off the fridge.
Well, what do you put that down? What do you put that down to then?
Gremlins.
Yeah, Gremlins, Minutemen.
You live in an area where not just 400 plus years ago, there were hundreds and thousands of indigenous people, the Paleo-Americans, my ancestors, the Anishinaabe. And so if they died these horrific deaths, then I'm absolutely believing that Joe is going to experience some kind of supernatural, because I would put it forth that Joe is a conduit or a magnet to that type of activity if Angie isn't herself.
Oh, no, she is. I'm not. I'm guilty by association.
You're just Joda, right? You're just Joda. He's a humble man, is our Joda. Isn't he? So come on, Joe. We've got like 20 minutes now. More woo from Joe. Pressure's on you, dude. We've missed you. Come on, man.
What are you doing this to me for?
Because
I'm
we're
the
like,
cat.
see, Scott, he should have known we would do this tonight, right?
No,
No.
wasn't me. And this always happens, by the way.
No, it doesn't
You
always
know,
happen. You've not been here
this
for
is
like
not
3
a new
years.
effect
The last
at
time,
all.
the last
Not a
time
new
you were on
effect.
Freaky Friday, Obama was
What about
president.
Bezos? What do you think? Okay, question.
All right, then, Bezos. All
Does
right, we'll go.
Bezos blow up? Does he make it back or not?
Right,
What
I'll
do you
tell
think,
you what,
guys?
dude. I'll tell you what. I'm actually quite worried about Bezos. I watched Branson the other day, and for me, the two of them, it's like a travesty to call it a space race. I had Nano on the other night, and
Definitely.
Nano's right. It's like, what an anticlimax. This isn't a space race. This isn't a high altitude joyride. But when it comes to Bezos, I kind of respect him because he's got the balls to strap himself to like a human like firework and fire himself at space. But
What is
Scotty,
it about him? Wait, whoa. What is it about him and his one tiny little rocket engine on the bottom of that? What is it that makes you respect him so much?
because at least he's taking part in the first flight. Like he's going to be there. He's not expecting some peons that he pays at the company to do it. He's going to be on it.
I would speculate he's already done it. That he's already gone to Mars or Pluto or whatever.
He's gone to Pluto. Now we're getting deep.
He has a wormhole. He may. I don't know. I mean, you got to remember, there's a lot of. What about the tic-tac-toe thing and the freaking?
We'll talk about that later. You probably know more about that than any of us because you worked at shipyards in Virginia and things. You know about contractors. No, Joe. Let me say this. You know about the kind of contractors that work in electronic warfare. You know about the kind of contractors that can produce, fake radar signatures, spoofing. You know about the kind of technology companies that are out there that could easily produce the technology that we watched.
And he was in the Navy. Video. He was in the Navy, so I can guarantee you that he has witnessed things that he cannot wrap his mind around.
Okay, then. So did you then, Joe? Let me ask you. When you were in the Navy, did you see anything?
It depends. Like what are we talking about? What's anything?
Something
An
that
anomaly.
was yeah.
Under the water, yes. Above the water, no.
Okay, so under the water, tell us, man, more.
A big glowing patch, probably about a mile long, that could not have been like seaweed or
biofluorescent
a
algae,
glowing orca or something like that. No way. And rhythmic blinking and everything else, and it had to be a mile
intelligence.
long, probably about 5 miles off the ship. You know what I mean? And it was just no way. But how the hell were we supposed to know? By the time anybody got to see, what we had was what we called the cloak and daggers, the electronic warfare technicians.
Oh boy.
They were the Snoopy team, right? So they would go and they would run up and Snoopy team away, starboard side. If there was anything that you didn't even recognize or know, or perhaps you wanted to gain intelligence on. So by the time the Snoopy team got up there, the thing had gone, but all the watchstanders saw it. We weren't hallucinating. There was something there and then it was gone. But who the hell knows?
Did you get visited?
Wait a minute,
debriefed?
Nisi. This last 2 minutes of radio has probably been more profound than anything Jeremy Corbell has released in the past 6 months. Because this here is probably like it is an anomaly, and it's not like an alien spaceship that has FAA landing lights on it. This is like real deal, Scotty Lopez. We're getting taken here to the real UAPs.
This reminds me of the article from Mysterious Universe I had talked about with the ships, talking about the glowing anomalies in the water, and you know, there are some instances where, you know, it's bioluminescent like plankton or something.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is that
it wasn't.
Yeah, most times you can, but this was not. You just could tell.
And you said about a mile,
It was
about a
not
mile,
bioluminescent.
about a mile.
I've seen bioluminescence. I know what that looks like. You know, that was not.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You know, that is an explanation for some of them, but then, you know, it was like, well, there's a lot of other instances where it can't be explained by bioluminescence.
Holy Scotty boy, holy shamoly.
Obviously, what you witnessed was, you know, the latter, this unexplained
Or
anomaly.
something. I don't know what it was. I have no idea.
If nobody knows what it is, then it's unexplained. It's an anomaly, you know, and
it was in the Red Sea. That's the other thing too. So it was in a very narrow passage of water. It's not necessarily that big, and you know what it's not necessarily that deep. So what the hell, you know, what the heck was it? We don't know. I never saw it again.
Was it cigar shaped?
No, it was just like, it was like, I want to say like 3 to 5 miles off, and all you could see was like a lit, almost like a blobbish line, because we were that far away. And the only way you could get like a really decent look at it was with binos, and even at that, I mean, that's not that
well,
good.
Joe, let me ask you something, because people have heard me and Scott and Nacy talking about the UFOs, the reports, the videos. What do you make of the fact that the whole UFO thing's gone like mainstream? Okay, we had a bit of a duffer report come out, but what's your take when you've been like working away, doing your thing and that? What have you been making of that?
I think that going hand in hand with the catastrophism we're seeing all over the world speaks to the severity of our situation as you know, as humanity in its current form. And truly, I mean, that's how I feel.
No.
I kind of feel like so antediluvian, right? In the antediluvian age, and truly it was Lord of the Rings in every shape and form, because, you know, there were fallen ones that came to Earth and taught us a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
And so I can totally understand that. Now, if there were fallen ones then, why isn't there fallen ones now, or aliens or demons or whatever you want to call them? They're there. Or there's been such a disparity or disproportion of wealth, and that wealth is being funneled to super experimental programs. Perhaps it's like a symbiosis of stolen alien technology.
I think we could agree that it's probably all of the above.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a conglomeration of all. But one thing's for certain, that the Blue Origin rocket, ain't it? New Shepard. That's bull. That there is a distraction.
What do you make of Musk and his SpaceX? Because the way I kind of said to Nana Girl the other night, I look at Bezos, right? That's like commercial joyrider stuff. Like you get a hop and a jump into space. But Elon Musk, that's like industrial level, like up and down all the time, cargo, payloads.
If there is some sort of technology or some sort of hidden technology or any sort of Kabbalist plan, it's not Elon Musk. I can tell you that for an absolute certainty.
You can come back again, Joe. You can come back again. You're one of the few voices that support me in my Musk love.
Well, you know, the government The government has given both of them almost the same amount of money in the billions to continue the possibility of getting off this planet. So a lot of money, millions and billions of money, is being spent to get off this planet. Whether it's in the name of exploration or, hey, you got a ticket to the Ark.
But I tell you, if I ran the planet, right? If I ran the planet, God forbid. But if I did, space exploration would be well on my list of things to do.
Oh yeah, but at the same time though, I can tell you, Musk is not, at least on the surface, I just don't see it. I don't think the guy has time, and quite frankly, doesn't even give a crap.
Time for what? Time for what? What do you mean?
For any sort of Kabbalist.
No, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I think the guy's all right.
Yeah, no, the world is an erector set to him, is basically what that is. And he's super brilliant. Now, Bezos, he's a guy that could be like, the villain from the Mike Myers Goldfinger movie.
He's a strange-looking dude. He's a strange-looking dude.
Yeah, I could totally get him to be like a villain. He has that MO. I get it with him, but do I think he is? No, I don't think he is. I don't think he's got the bloodline, because bloodlines are important, very important. I think he just got lucky.
You can't be that rich not to be involved.
No way.
My belief, my thoughts.
I don't buy it for a second. And I'll tell you that you don't get rich by being Mr. Nice Guy is what it is. Just being a freaking... I've lived this life now for the last God knows how long. I can tell you, he's not involved, at least not in that level. He doesn't care about that. This SOB's too self-absorbed.
Let me add to that, right? Let me add to that, though, right? Because Brendan O'Connell, an Australian activist I listen to, some people might recognise his name, but he was saying something recently, and it made me think, because he said, all you people at home sitting there talking about the truth and doing this and doing that and the Illuminati this and the Illuminati that. He says a lot of these people that you name and shame all the time, they don't even know the kind of stuff that we know about. And he expanded on it, and he started talking about somebody who I really despise, and it's Steve Bannon. But he was talking about how Steve Bannon had invited him to the kind of school that Bannon was setting up in Italy. And the reason he had invited Brendan O'Connell there was because Brendan O'Connell was talking about things that Steve Bannon had no idea about. Now, I know Bannon's a player in many ways, shapes and forms, but the reason I bring this up is because I'm not saying I'm right, I'm not saying Joe's right, I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, but I also think that just because you're a billionaire on the planet, just because you're somebody whose name is out there, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're part of some, super secret sauce cabal club that gets together in an old Nazi castle and comes up with plans for world domination. I know that it's sometimes easier and it would be more comfortable to think that the world works that way, but it's more nuanced than that. And I don't think you can just look at somebody, well, he's got money, Joe, and say, well, a billionaire, he must be a bad guy.
Scotty, you know what? It's more of, it's more sinister than that. It's more intimate than that. Where money doesn't really, money is a tool. That's all it is.
We've only got a few minutes left, right? We've only got a few minutes left, Joe, right? Joe, we've only got a few minutes left, so I want your final thoughts, I want Scotty's, and I want Nacy's, right? So, Joe, over to you.
I'm gonna make it quite simple. It's in the blood. It really, truly boils down to that. It's bloodlines. And bloodlines mean everything. And in that Kabbalist community, money's great, but it's just a resource and a tool, and they're not the only ones with it. And they're not the only ones that control it. And there's some people that know this stuff and some people don't. Bezos is probably dumb as a box of rocks outside of the fact that he's a computer geek, and that's what he was. And that's kind of what he is still at his core. He's still a geek at his core, but that's all he is. A self-centered geek at that. But so what? I mean, he worked hard to do what he did. Great. Have at you.
Okay.
I'm not going to judge the guy.
No, I'm with you. Oh, cool. Scotty?
Yeah, blanketing every billionaire as a bad guy is essentially like, you're
It's like calling all of us conspiracy theorists and writing us off, right?
Yeah, you don't just like put a blanket term over an entire area of the population, right? It's like saying that every white person is a racist, right? Or every black person is a criminal, or every cop is bad. So saying every billionaire is somehow involved in some kind of a secret cabal, involved in the Illuminati, or has like some nefarious thing. I mean, some of them might be involved in some of that stuff. Some of them might not. And here's another thing, all of these people whose names are out there, right, that are always thrown around, you know what? The real people that are making these decisions, the real cabal, the ones that are really running the show, we don't know their names. We'll never know their names. Their names will never be in the public eye. These are the families that are living up in some secluded mansion out in the Alps. I don't know, and you will never know who they are. We'll never know who the actual real players are. I think a lot of these people who are kind of thrown out there to be the scapegoats for all of this stuff, they're just like the pawns.
Yep.
They're just the pawns that are thrown out there to distract everybody and people to go, oh my God, look at how evil Bezos is because he's got a lot of money. He runs Amazon, And sure, yeah, there's a lot of crap that goes on, right? I mean, Amazon is not just, it's.
Need to wrap you up, Scott. You need to wrap you up. Need to give fair time here.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm ditching you. I'm going with Scott now. Nacy, convince me. Over to you, dude. Final thoughts.
I am a hypocrite and positive, neutral, and negative, depending on the perspective. However, I do believe and think and feel that the powers that should not be are dictated by the banking system, and the banking system has been around for a very long time. So to clarify, if these billionaires are willingly or unwillingly part of the powers that should not be, yes, they are. I would like to think that there is an anomaly to the exception, but I just don't. But whatever it may be, it will be what it was. And again, as I stated before, if licking the lizard makes you a positive person, whether you have $1 in the bank account or $1 billion,
lick the lizard. Yes, and we are almost out of time. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to chime in and remind all of you that it doesn't matter what any of us say. We provide, you decide. And not only that, you, as our good friend Popeye, is the only person missing tonight. As Popeye used to say, doesn't matter about your Bezos, your Musk, your Queen, Biden, Trump, Boris Johnson, David Cameron. Doesn't matter about all of them. Because if you want to see the change, go and look in the mirror, ladies and gents. And it's staring right back at you. We've got Joe Joseph, we've got Nacy, we've got Scotty Lopez. I'm Kev Baker. This has been your Freaky Friday. And don't forget, coming up right after the break with the Royal Wave from Joe, we have got Brent Thomas with the Paranormal Portal. So on that note, ladies and gents, wherever you are, make it TFR and dinny touch that dial.
Happy birth recognition date to you.
There we go. Yes,
Happy birth recognition date to you.
Indeed.
Happy birth recognition date, Kev Baker.
Well, no, I don't like your version of that song. So what I'm going to do is, on our way out today, I'm going to find the version I found earlier on. It's hysterical. But Joe, it was great having you back, dude. Did you enjoy being back?
It was great to be back, and next Friday it is, buddy.
Oh, is this like a regular gig now? Are you back for good, dude? I like it. I like it. Okay.
Nice. I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. So Scotty, final thoughts, and then I'll go to Nacy, and then we'll get out of here.
Nah, just another excellent week. It was fantastic to have Joe Joseph back. What a great birthday present for Mr. Baker. You know, to have Joda. You know,
my
pull
Joda.
the arc in.
Joda, my Joda.
He decided to pull the arc in.
The arc's in for overhaul now, so it's going to be in
God
for a
help
while.
alternative media. The OG is back. My goodness, man.
He's in port. The arc is kind of getting a little bit of an upgrade.
Scott, have we had like the almost the releasing of the Kraken? We've had Popeye coming back to the airwaves in recent months, and now you cross him with a Joe Joseph. That's a Kraken.
Yeah, hey, we talk about cycles and history repeating itself. Hey, I think something's going on here, man.
Doesn't repeat exactly, but it has an echo. And I like this echo. I like this echo, yes, indeed. So, Nacy, final thoughts before I sing us out of here with some crazy happy birthday.
The present of presence that occurred in these precious moments with the contribution from the OG Joe Joseph has been a humbling experience. I am so glad to have had this experience with you, Mr. Joe Joseph, especially as a fellow shellback. And it's even more pleasurable in the fact that Pearlie, you incredible, wonderful woman, you, by giving us the present of your son.
No.
Your incredible son that I love to call as a friend. And I love you, my brother, and thank you for going around the sun with us once again.
Oh, absolutely, folks. And remember, wherever you are, keep your mind open, keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns black goo. So on that note, let me just take you out with a little bit of this. Oh, hang on, let me change the speed. Hang on.
Yeah, the polka finish was great. Yeah, that's great. It's like a mix. It's like an Arabic polka.
Yeah, say it.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.